Okay, so we are going to do a full story video. A full story video is when I sit down, take a bunch of videos that tell one overarching storyline and combine them together into one big video. And when it comes to today's full story video, we're going to talk about Steve Rogers and Sam Wilson both being Captain Americas once again in the Marvel Universe. Yes, you heard that right. We have two Captain Americas once again. See, back in the year 2022, Marvel gave us two different books, one for Sam Wilson and one for Steve Rogers. And both of their books told different stories that didn't lead back into each other for a crossover event known as the Cold War. And the Cold War was used as a way to wrap up both stories for both heroes and then leave our heroes into a new direction for new writers to take over after it. So today's full story video, you're going to see all the different stories come together in one big video. I do hope you enjoy. Into today's storyline, we actually pick up with the first page for right now. And the reason why I'm focusing so hard on the first page is because the first page is actually setting up a lot of different things we're going to see in this book. Now, this place we're seeing right now is called the Forge. And right now we do see a guy right now actually making Captain America's shield. And that right there, that one page, it shows us how important this one page is going to be for the entire storyline of this book right here. And so when we jump over to Steve Rogers, we do see Steve Rogers right now moving back over to his old apartment. Now, when I say his old apartment, I really mean more of the apartment he had back in the 1930s along with his mother. Now, with that being said, the reason why Steve Rogers is moving back there is because it's Steve Rogers wanting to technically rebuild his connection with his community, because Steve Rogers came from that area, but Steve Rogers really haven't done much for that area ever since he came back to life after being frozen for so many years. And so this is Steve Rogers just trying to rebuild that connection with his community. Now, on top of that, this is Steve Rogers wanting to have a normal life, a life away from the superhero life. And so we do see Steve Rogers live a more normal life in his old apartment. And matter of fact, you have Steve Rogers go to a community college where he does take a few classes in art. And of course, he is trying to learn. Now, while being in those art classes, he is able to make a lot of different friends. And so it does show us Steve Rogers trying to have this ability of having a normal life and him trying to adjust to the idea that, hey, you are a superhero, but you deserve to have this normal life and have these friends that you're making in these classes you go to. And so it's kind of cool to see Steve Rogers be able to actually do all this. Now, when Steve Rogers gets back home to his apartment and pulls out this old school radio, this is going to lead us into the main plot line of the book. And what I mean by that is we kind of find out that apparently Steve Rogers still talks to a bunch of old friends of his by using old school radios. And of course, they use these old school radios to kind of remember the old days back in the 1940s and 50s. Either way though, you have Steve Rogers being able to actually catch up with some old friends of his that he knew back then in the 40s. Now, while you have everybody using their radios, well, that is the moment they hear a message being played. Now, when it comes to this message, they have no idea where this message is actually coming from. And matter of fact, it's just a bunch of numbers and that is it. And so luckily for Steve Rogers, every single person in this radio chat group has some kind of way to figure out this actual message. And so when they're able to work together and to figure out the math problems, the symbols, and all these different kind of things, they realize what the message is trying to say. That apparently something big is about to happen in New York City. But on top of that, with all the different numbers in the math problems, it also came with symbols. And once you put all those symbols together, of course, it makes Captain America's shield. And so something big is going to happen tomorrow that's going to be heavily connected to Steve Rogers. Now we kind of find out why tomorrow is so special when it came to that message. And the reason why, because tomorrow is 4th of July in this book, a huge holiday for America, especially for New York. And the reason why, because right now, New York City is having a huge parade. And so with this huge parade, of course, that means if something big is going to happen, it's going to happen here, so in the middle of this parade. And so right now, it's Steve Rogers trying to figure out what in the world could possibly happen. Now, he does call in Bucky as a way to kind of have some backup, but also hoping that with two bodies, they'll be able to figure this thing out very quickly and save the lives of innocent people. But that is the moment where you do have Steve Rogers and also Bucky see someone who's right now wearing an old outfit that used to belong to an old friend of Steve Rogers, somebody he fought alongside with back in World War II. And that would be the Destroyer outfit. Now, the Destroyer was actually another super soldier in that time period. The thing was though, the person who wore that suit, who was a super soldier, they died back in 1953, and no one else actually took up the mantle ever since then. And the question is right now, who's out there wearing the outfit, but now being the bad guy while wearing this outfit? And so of course for Steve Rogers and Bucky, they're like, no, we have to stop this guy. Now, once our heroes do begin to fight against this guy, of course, he begins to talk to them about the idea that a huge change is coming. America is about to be changed completely. It's about to be waking up to a brand new world. Now, you do have Steve Rogers try his best to take the guy out by himself, but then the guy said, no, I'm done fighting you, and now I want to fight your partner instead, because your partner is a tad bit more important right now than you are when it comes to this master plan of ours. And of course, he was talking about Bucky. Now, we have no idea why Bucky is so important for this new hidden group. But on top of that, we have no idea why this guy is a huge fan of Bucky, because he does tell Bucky, hey man, listen, I'm a huge fan of yours. As a matter of fact, I heard a lot of great stories about you. Here's the thing though, they were telling me these stories when they were making me. Now that right there is actually very huge, because now this guy is saying, listen, who I worked for, they made me like this. But apparently they also made Bucky as well, because this guy says, oh, by the way, I know your code name. And your code name is the Great Century Weapon. Now that code name right there, we have no idea what it means for right now, but apparently it means a lot to Bucky, but also to this guy as well. Either way, you do have Steve Rogers being able to kind of get there to help Bucky fight against this random guy who's right now wearing the Destroyer outfit. And once you have our two heroes work together to actually stop him, well, that is the moment they realize that technically there was some kind of crystal or something inside his outfit that was feeding him hate, to make him hate America, to make him hate Bucky, to make him hate Steve Rogers. But with that crystal gone, his mind is somewhat clear, but he is about to die. And before he dies, he wants to tell Steve Rogers something very important. And so you had this guy tell Steve Rogers this right here. He said, I failed to execute his move, which means I'm looking at you with dead eyes, talking to you with dead lips, saying that I'm gonna die very soon. And so with me gonna die very soon, shut up, just shut up and listen. And he tells Steve Rogers this one important line right here, and it's going to change everything for Steve Rogers, because he says, the shield isn't what you think. It's not your symbol, it's theirs. and then he dies in the arms of Steve Rogers. And so we're left to wonder, what in the world did he mean by that? And what in the world could possibly be coming for Steve Rogers and Bucky down the road? But right after that, you then have our heroes go back home. Now, this leads into one of the big moments of the book, because we then focus on Bucky. Now, when it comes to Bucky, we actually see him go home to his apartment. Now, when he does go home to his apartment, well, that is the moment we do see him pull out a marker. And when it comes to this marker, he builds a star on his wall, or he draws a star on his wall. But then he colors in one of the pointers of the star. And then he says, 1 down, 4 more to go. And so right now it seems like because him and Steve took out that guy earlier, there's a possibility that Bucky knows what's going on, and 4 more killers or 4 more people who work for this hidden organization could be coming after Steve and Bucky down the road. And so that is the moment where we do jump over to a random character. Now, I do say a random character because at first he is random, but he is going to be very important. And matter of fact, he is going to be one of the main bad guys of this book. Now, when it comes to this guy, he's right now leaving a message behind. And when it comes to this message, it's him right now telling his friends or the people that he usually hangs out with that they have lost the game. That because they were not playing the game his way, he was able to make a lot of different moves that now kind of have him in the lead when it comes to their game. And so right now, if they want to beat him, they're going to have to play the game his way or find a new way to play the game before he's actually able to win the game completely. And so that tells you right there that when it comes to our hidden group, they're playing some huge game with the lives of the people of Earth. And the question is right now, why? And who are these people? And so when we jump into the second chapter, we kind of find out that some days have passed by. And of course, we kind of find out that Steve Rogers has not heard from Bucky in the last couple days. And so right now, it's Steve Rogers very concerned about his close friend. Now, we also kind of find out that Steve Rogers is still working with his radio friends as they try to decode different messages they're hearing on their radios at the moment. Now, you do have some members of this group say to Steve Rogers that it feels like someone is trying to play a game. The problem is, though, this game does involve innocent people. And so honestly, this is a very sick kind of game. And so right now you have Steve Rogers believing in the idea that sooner or later he should be able to capture the people who is actually behind all of this mess that's going on at the moment right now. Now, we do see Steve Rogers meet up with some of his college friends. Now, when he does meet up with his college friends, you do have Steve Rogers kind of showing on his face that something is wrong. And honestly, something is wrong, because in his mind, he keeps replaying what he heard earlier in the last chapter from that guy who's basically told him that your symbol on your shield is not yours, it belongs to them. And so it's Steve Rogers trying to figure out what did that guy actually mean. But on top of that, it's Steve Rogers saying, you know what, I also realize I don't know who actually made the shield in the first place. And so right now it's Steve Rogers wondering who actually did make the shield in the first place. Now, luckily for Steve Rogers, one of his college friends were able to use the internet to figure out who actually did make the shield. And we kind of find out it's some guy known as Daniel Agboje. And I really hope I pronounced that last name correctly. But apparently this Daniel person was the one who had created design of the shield in the first place. And so right now it's Steve saying, I need to do more research on this Daniel person. And so that is the moment where we actually do pick up with Steve Rogers at the gym. Now, with Steve Rogers being at the gym, it's him right now training a kid from his apartment building. Now, the reason why Steve Rogers is training this kid from this apartment building of his is because this kid has been getting bullied at school. And so right now it's Steve Rogers just making sure that this kid is actually able to defend himself against the bullies at his school. Now that is the moment where you do have the kid begin to tell Steve Rogers about a new power station opening up right now in Germany, a power station known as the Forge. Now we heard the Forge earlier in this book. Matter of fact, the first page of this book. But when it comes to the Forge right now, apparently it is going to provide a lot of power for countries across Europe. Pure, clean energy. And this is a great thing for Europe at the moment. Now, when it comes to Steve Rogers, he feels like he should most likely check out this facility in Germany. And the reason why, because it's Steve saying, listen, if there is a new group out there of bad guys right now coming after me, and of course everything in my past, then technically they would go to Germany next. And the reason why, because Germany did play a huge role in my life back in World War II. And so right now it's Steve saying, let me go ahead and go to Germany. And so when Steve Rogers actually go over to Germany, he does call it correctly, because right now you do have a bunch of random soldiers right now walking around the place like they actually own the place. Now, of course, these soldiers do belong to our new mysterious group of bad guys that we have no idea about. Either way, when Steve Rogers out there in that building right now and kind of observing the soldiers in the building, he realized that these soldiers actually belong to other groups in Marvel Comics. So for example, some of these soldiers used to work for Hydra or for AIM or possibly the Hand as well. And so right now it's Steve wondering what in the world is going on. Now he also comes to find out that apparently some of these soldiers are also people that he had fought alongside with on other missions while working alongside with S.H.I.E.L.D. And matter of fact, one of those people is actually a guy known as Agent Ortez. Now either way though, Agent Ortez seems to be mind controlled or technically down with the idea of working for this new mysterious group. Either way, you do have Steve Rogers being able to take out most of the guys here at this building. The problem is though, when he thinks it's time to actually calm down, relax, that is the moment he looks up in the sky and sees what's coming towards him. And so that is the moment where you do have this huge aircraft just appear out of nowhere above Steve Rogers. Now, when it comes to this aircraft, it is actually built the same way as Steve Rogers' shield. It looks just like Steve Rogers' shield. Either way, this gives us our first look of our new mysterious group of bad guys who are right now coming after Steve Rogers, but also Bucky as well. Now, these new mysterious characters, they don't tell us what their names are or what is the name of their group. The only thing we do know right now is that technically they're coming after Steve Rogers. And matter of fact, they do send something down to actually get rid of Steve Rogers and hopefully kill him off or possibly capture him. Now that is the moment where we actually do pick up with Bucky. Now when we do pick up with Bucky, it's him right now technically going to some underground casino. Now the reason why he's going to this underground casino is because he is actually looking for someone. Now the person that he is looking for is just like him. And what I mean by that is, remember, when it came to Bucky earlier, he did draw a star on his wall in his apartment. But he did color in one of the pointers of the star to say that 1 down, 4 more to go, meaning that apparently there are 5 people who do work for our new evil group. And apparently Bucky's right now going around and hunting down each of those 5 people. And we come to find out that one of those people is right now here in this underground casino. And the person that he was looking for is actually Peggy Carter. And this is actually very huge because now it's Marvel saying that technically Peggy could be somewhat mind controlled or possibly be evil and working for some evil group out there that's right now trying to get rid of Steve Rogers, but also Bucky as well. Now, if you're wondering how in the world is Peggy Carter alive, well, it all basically came out of the idea of Secret Empire, where the Cosmic Cube kind of messed up the mind of Steve Rogers, or really brought out Hydra Steve Rogers. It also brought back to life Peggy Carter. And so, of course, that is why she's around again and she looks so young. Now, on top of that, the other reason why, because she got popular in the MCU, and so Marvel wanted to bring her back so that just in case fans are looking for her, they'll be able to find her somewhere in Steve Rogers comics or other comics out there that could involve her. Either way, she's right now basically talking to Bucky about the idea that they both have been used by this new evil organization that we're about to learn a whole lot more about in this storyline. But getting back over to Steve Rogers, we do see Steve Rogers right now fighting against some creature that was sent out to basically kill him off. Now, when it comes to this creature, we do learn a whole lot more about this creature as the battle goes on. Like at first, we learn that this creature right now, its body is covered in the toughest metal in Marvel Comics. Now, not all of them, but some of the toughest metal in Marvel Comics. And also has a combination of different fighting styles as well that Steve Rogers has seen over the years as a hero. Either way, you do have Steve Rogers being able to actually bounce back and try to fight against this creature. Now, as their battle goes on, Steve Rogers realized that apparently this creature is working for this evil organization, but at the same time, they're trying to hide something very important. And the question is right now, what are they trying to hide? Now, once you have Steve Rogers being able to actually defeat the creature, that is the moment he realized that it's not just some kind of robot or some kind of machine, that there's actually a person inside that body that's covered in metal. Either way, once Steve Rogers is able to actually deal with the creature, it does teleport away to escape for now before Steve Rogers was able to capture it. And so once Steve Rogers is able to go inside the forge, that is the moment he realized that he's now in the birthplace of the Shield. The Shield was made here in this place. Now, once he does walk in and does get a look around, at first he is very amazed with the idea that now he knows where the Shield came from, where it was made from. But on top of that, he then finds a way to actually access a hidden message that was left behind by the creator of the Shield. And so that is the moment where we see the message left behind was made by Dr. Boca. Now, Dr. Boca was the one who had created the Shield years ago for Steve Rogers. But you have Dr. Boca say, while he was working on the Shield, he realized that something was wrong, that the Shield was technically not America's symbol, that the symbol on the Shield belonged to someone else, an evil group out there that was technically controlling everything behind the scenes. And what I mean by that is, apparently back in 1922, after millions of people were killed off in World War I, this guy known as Wolf Fortunev, and I really hope I pronounced that last name correctly, was so inspired about the idea that humans cannot rule themselves, that the world is doomed to die, the human race is doomed to die. And so because of that, he went around recruiting very powerful men and women to basically help him control governments around the world and people in secret to make sure there is peace across the world. Now, each person he had recruited represents something different in the group. So for example, you have someone that represents power, another one for machine, another one for money, another one for love. You have all these different people out there who are right now representing something different in the group. Now, of course, in their eyes, they're playing a game, a century-long game. But here's the catch though. Even though they're playing this game, they're trying to make sure that the entire world is under their control. Now, of course, it led to them doing different things across the world. Like, for example, World War II, RJFK's birthday. A lot of different things happen across the world because of them. Another example, the fall of the Soviet Union. That was another big thing. And so apparently this group has been going on ever since 1922 and been controlling different events across the world to hopefully bring peace to the entire world. Because right now they hate the idea that sooner or later the human race is going to basically die. And so it's Dr. Boca in this message saying that when he was making the shield, he realized the symbol did not belong to America, it belonged to this evil group. And so right now you have the guy saying, do not be a pawn for them, because basically you were part of their plans. And so was Bucky as well. And so I'm hoping that you'll break away and actually stop them. Now, right after the message is done, that is the moment where you have Steve Rogers actually be confronted by one of the members of the group. Now, of course, it's just a hologram, but this person right here represents the machine side of this new evil group. And matter of fact, we do learn their name, and they call themselves the Outer Circle. Now, with that being said, though, you didn't have this person who's right now representing the machine part of the group saying, listen, Steve, it's great you found that message. It's great you now know everything about us. But unfortunately, I am going to blow this place up to make sure no one finds this place ever again and learn more information about us. But on top of that, make sure that you die along with this place, because you cannot ruin our plans. We have been playing this game since 1922. It's been a whole century game, and there's no way I'm going to allow you to ruin our game. And so that is the moment we see that basically they have planted bombs all over the place and they're trying to blow the place up. And Steve Rogers is able to actually get out of there in time before dying with the place. And so we do jump back over to Bucky. Now, when we do jump back over to Bucky, this is actually very important. And the reason why, because he's right now fighting against Peggy. And he's trying to tell Peggy that technically everything she did for America or for S.H.I.E.L.D. over the years was technically a huge fat lie. That technically she was a pawn for this new evil group known as the Outer Circle. Now, when it comes to Peggy, she is not actually listening because she does not like Bucky at all. And the reason why she hates Bucky is because of what he did after he had supposedly died back in World War II, being the Winter Soldier for the Soviet Union. And so because of that, she's kind of like, listen, I don't trust you, I don't like you, and now here you are telling me that everything I did is a fat lie, that every bad person that I had stopped was a fat lie, that basically my entire life as a hero or spy was a complete lie. And it's Bucky saying, yes, you and I are 2 of the 5 people they use to complete different missions as a way to control the world. And so we need to work together to bring them down. The problem is, though, like I said earlier, Peggy does not want to listen because she doesn't like Bucky at all. And so, matter of fact, you have Peggy being able to defeat Bucky and then get away. And so when we go to the ending of the 3rd chapter, we actually pick up back at the gym that Steve Rogers was at earlier when he was training that young boy from his apartment building. And that is the moment we kind of find out that someone is actually heading towards that gym right now as a way to go after Steve Rogers. And of course, it is that creature that is basically working for the Outer Circle. And so right now it seems like this creature may go after different people who Steve Rogers actually care for. And so when we jump into the 4th chapter of the book, we really do pick up right now with Steve Rogers wondering about his entire life. And what I mean by that is, it's right now Steve Rogers saying, was my entire life a lie? That everything I did growing up, everything I did for America, everything I did for the Avengers, was that a lie? That basically this entire time I was actually a pawn for this group, the Outer Circle, and they have been controlling me, but possibly controlling other people in my life. And matter of fact, he's starting to wonder, have they been controlling my mother as well when she was alive when I was a young boy? So every lesson she taught me, did that come from her or did that come from them? And so right now it's Steve Rogers wondering if his entire life was just a big fat lie. And so you do have Steve Rogers go over to Bucky's apartment. And the reason why, because remember, Steve Rogers have not heard from Bucky in a long time. And so this is Steve Rogers saying, hey, you know what? I'm gonna go by and check up on my friend to make sure that he is alive and well. And so when Steve Rogers goes over to Bucky's apartment, he's all like, hey man, we gotta talk because you've been gone for a long time and you miss a lot of different things happening in my life. But on top of that, Bucky also has to tell Steve Rogers the same thing. And of course, the two characters find out that basically they're working the same case, because you have Steve Rogers tell Bucky about the Outer Circle, how they have been controlling the governments in the world, but also controlling random people as well, because they want to make sure history plays out in their way. But if someone goes out of their way to make sure that the Outer Circle does not get what they want, then an assassin is sent in to basically kill that person off. And that is where Bucky comes in, because let's not forget what the guy said in the first chapter, the Destroyer, who went to Bucky and said, hey, I heard a lot of great stories about you. And matter of fact, I remember your code name, and your code name was the Great Century Weapon. And the reason why that is so important, because Bucky was an assassin for the Outer Circle this entire time, meaning that if someone goes out of their way to stop the Outer Circle to get what they want, they send in Bucky or send in Peggy or the guy we saw in the first chapter. They have 5 assassins. And so this is a huge moment, because now Steve Rogers and Bucky realize they're working the same case, but it's also Bucky realizing, you know what, I have Steve Rogers. He's my best friend and he understands what I'm going through. I should have came to him when I had learned more about this. Either way, you do have the two guys agree to work together to figure out how to stop the Outer Circle. Now that is the moment where we do have Steve Rogers go check up on that kid Armani. And the reason why, because Armani is about to go back to school. And remember, he was being bullied by some random bullies in his school. And so Steve Rogers had taught him how to fight. But Steve Rogers say, listen, even though you now know how to fight, do not use those skills unless you really have to. Meaning that don't go into school and try to pick a fight. If they come at you, yes, you may fight, but don't go in there and start the fight. Because what he wants to teach Armani is the idea that when it comes to violence, violence is an endless cycle. And if you keep feeding violence, it's going to continue to be an endless cycle. And so right now it's him telling Armani, do not feed into violence. Try to break the cycle. Try to find a way out of violence if you can. If not, I understand, but try my way first. And then you have Armani go to school for the day. Now, later on in the day, you do have Steve Rogers get attacked by the same creature we saw earlier, the one that's covered in so many different kinds of metals from the Marvel Universe. But that is the moment we kind of find out his actual name is redacted, and right now he was sent by the Outer Circle to basically kill off Steve Rogers. Now, Steve Rogers realized that there's someone inside there, and his entire life was being controlled by the Outer Circle, and he was changed thanks to the Outer Circle. And so right now it's Steve Rogers saying, listen, let me help you break free. Let me help you take them down. Work with me instead of trying to fight against me, because just like me, you're a pawn for them, and now you have the ability to no longer be a pawn for them. Now you're in control of your life, so why try to fight against me? Instead, try to work with me to actually stop them. And so that is the moment you have the two characters agree to actually work together to fight against the Outer Circle. And so that is the moment we actually do pick up with one of the members of the Outer Circle, and that would be the Revolution. And when it comes to the Revolution, apparently something has changed. Now, he did expect us to come, but not so soon. And so with this huge change, he's kind of like, okay, you know what? It's time to call in the table, the other members of the Outer Circle, because something big is about to happen. And apparently the final move must be made right now, and that final move involves Steve Rogers. And the question is right now, what does that even mean? And so when we get into the 5th chapter of the book, it's really more of right now the revolution meeting up with the other members of the outer circle. Now, when it comes to this meeting, it's really more of revolution saying, listen, I'm done playing your games. I'm done playing this game in your way. I'm done playing this long game and we're getting nowhere. I'm trying to change the rules. I'm trying to make things better for us. Now, this is the moment where we can technically say that to the other members of the outer circle, Revolution is the weakest link. That honestly, they feel like he's kind of crazy. And on top of that, they've been trying to get rid of him. And so right now, it seems like he's about to leave the group or possibly be killed off by Steve Rogers or someone else close to Steve Rogers. And so right now he's saying, listen, after I am gone, watch this video. And once you do watch this video, you'll understand what I predicted and what I'm trying to do. And so that technically ends the meeting on that kind of crazy high note. But then we jump over to Steve Rogers, Bucky, and also Redacted. And we kind of find out that right now, the 3 characters are about to work together and actually attack the base of the outer circle. Now, if you're wondering how in the world they were able to find the actual base of the outer circle, because remember, Redacted was actually one of their weapons to be used to be sent out there to stop certain people who's trying to prevent the outer circle from actually winning. And so with that being said, with him right now kind of switching sides, he's like, hey, listen, I know where their base is at. If you come with me, I'll be able to actually show you their base. And so right now you have Steve Rogers along with Bucky and Redacted right now attacking the secret base of the outer circle. Now, of course, they're trying to blow the place up and it is causing a lot of, problems for the outer circle. But this is what Steve Rogers and Bucky want. They want to go ahead and bring down the outer circle and stop them today. Now, in the middle of their mission of blowing the place up, that is the moment they are confronted by holograms of the outer circle. And this gives us our first look of the entire group of the outer circle, every single member of the outer circle. Now, this is where things get a tad bit crazy. And what I mean by that is you have the outer circle trying their best to explain themselves by saying, listen, the reason why we're doing all of this is because we feel like the world is doomed to fail. The human race is doomed to fail. And that right there is not okay with us, the outer circle. And so it's our goal right now to hopefully prevent that from actually happening. And so that is why we're playing this game. And so technically they're trying to tell Steve Rogers, yes, we did World War II. Yes, we did the fall of the Soviet Union. Yes, we did the assassination of JFK and other things across the world. But all those different things were basically steps that had to be taken to make sure that one day the entire world is at peace. But of course, it's Steve saying, no. Like, you guys were in control behind everyone's backs and you killed off so many innocent people, and you're going to tell me all these steps that you have taken you believe are the right steps to take? And so right now it's Steve and Bucky saying, nope, we're going to stop you. And matter of fact, to the outer circle, they're like, nope, we got to kill you off instead. But once the holograms have disappeared, that is the moment where Steve Rogers and Bucky realize that they are technically surrounded by a bunch of guards who work for the outer circle. And so of course it leads into a battle between them and Steve Rogers and Bucky. Now you do have Steve and Bucky work together to actually defeat the guards. But that is the moment Steve remembers something about these guards, that technically they're being mind controlled. Now when I say mind controlled, I don't really mean like, yes, they're controlling their mind. They kind of basically put so much fear in every single one of these guards that these guards are scared to technically disobey orders of the outer circle, because if they do, they're gonna die. And so you have Steve say, no, listen, I have someone inside right now to make sure that you will not be killed off if you break their orders, because we come to find out a lot of these suits the guards are wearing, if they disobey orders, their suits are going to blow up. And so you have Steve say, no, your suits are no longer bombs. You now have the free will to choose what you want to do. You are not their pawns anymore. And so that is the moment where you do have a lot of guards put their guns down. And they're kind of like, yeah, we're free now. Forget the outer circle. And honestly, it's a great moment. And matter of fact, you have the place continue to be blown up left and right. And so it does look like the outer circle is about to lose, possibly here. But then you have Steve and Bucky realize that most of the outer circle got away except one. And so of course they're kind of like, let's go ahead and meet this last person and hopefully stop him. And so that is the moment where they are actually confronted by the revolution. Now, this is actually very huge. And the reason why, because right now you have the revolution telling Steve Rogers and Bucky something very, very important by basically confirming the idea that Steve Rogers and Bucky, their entire life was being controlled by the outer circle. But when it comes to Bucky, though, he was technically being controlled by the revolution, meaning that anytime they had to send someone out there to kill a certain person, they sent out Bucky or the other assassins. But when it came to Bucky, most times he was used just by the revolution. And so right now, it's him telling Bucky and Steve Rogers, listen, your entire life, before World War II, after World War II, and matter of fact, when you were the Winter Soldier, all those different things you did in your life was all done by me pulling your strings. And so right now, it's technically saying that he was in control of Bucky's entire life. Ever since he was a kid up to now, he has been in control. And this right here ticks off Bucky so much because Bucky has done so much harm to the world as the Winter Soldier. But at the same time though, even though he did some good things as well, it doesn't outweigh the bad things he did. And unfortunately, all those bad things he did was because of the revolution in the outer circle. Now, also, you have the revolution say, once you kill me off, there'll be a free seat open. And I feel like you should replace me on my spot in the outer circle. And matter of fact, you have Bucky grab a gun and say, you know what? I think you're right. I'm going to kill you off and then I'm going to join the outer circle. Now, Steve Rogers is kind of like, yo, wait, we are heroes. For one thing, we don't kill. But for right now, it's Bucky saying, no, I'm going to kill him off because my entire life was a lie. This man, his group, they made me do all these evil things in the world. How in the world can you sit here, Steve, and tell me I should not kill him off? But at the same time, not have the ability to join their group and to hopefully bring them down or to change their ways or to make the world better. Like, no, get out of my way. Now, of course, you have Steve say, no, if you pull that trigger, that bullet has to go through me to hit him. And so you have Bucky like, fine, if that's the case, bam. He fires the gun. It goes through Steve Rogers and it still hits the revolution, killing off the revolution. And so this leads into a fight between Steve Rogers and Bucky. And the reason why the two characters are about to fight, and honestly, is going to be a huge fight between these two characters, but the reason why these two characters are actually going to fight is because when it comes to Steve Rogers, even though Bucky had just committed murder and also shot him as well to kill off the revolution, it's Steve saying, listen, we can work past this, but you're not going to join the outer circle as the new revolution. Matter of fact, you are going to come with me back home so we're able to actually work past this moment. But when it comes to Bucky, he's like, no, I'm going to stay here, Steve. And matter of fact, if I have to fight you to get rid of you, then I'll do what I have to do. Because the thing is, I want to join the outer circle. And the reason why I want to join the outer circle is because then I'll be able to take them out from the inside out. That is why I want to join the outer circle, Steve, because these people have committed so many horrible things to the planet Earth because they believe that they are taking the right steps to make sure that the human race doesn't die off. but in reality, they are making things worse. And so my goal is to kill them off from the inside, but I can't do that if you're watching over my back. And so honestly, Steve, I need you to go ahead and just leave. Now, for Steve, he's like, no, I'm going to bring you back home. And so it does lead into a battle between these two characters. Now, while the two characters fight against one another, it does end up with Bucky being able to actually defeat Steve Rogers. And so Steve Rogers does fall to his death. Not really. He falls out of the outer circle aircraft, and of course he'll crash somewhere else very safely. But it's now Bucky saying, listen, you lost the battle, I got rid of you, and now you know what's next. I'm gonna join the outer circle. And really, the book ends on that note, because you do have Bucky being able to find the rest of the outer circle. And when he does find the rest of the outer circle, he walks in there, he sits down in his spot and says, you may call me the new revolution. And so now Bucky has joined the outer circle. Bucky is technically going to be a bad guy, quote unquote, for Steve Rogers for this series. But this is begin today's storyline, we actually do pick up right now in the year 1922. Now, in the year 1922, of course, it takes place after World War I. Now, that right there is actually very important. And the reason why, because in World War I, there was a lot of death. Millions of people died. But of course, we actually pick up right now with Wolf Fortunev. Now, when it comes to Wolf Fortunev, he is going to be very important. And the reason why, because this is the guy who technically makes the outer circle. Because thanks to World War I, you have Wolf say, I believe that the human race is going to die one day. That technically, when it comes to the human race, it is doomed to fail. And that right there is a problem. And so to make sure that the human race doesn't fail, we need someone out there to actually control the human race. And of course, that is the outer circle. Now, right now, he is telling all this information over to a guy known as Gavrilo. Now, Gavrilo is also going to be very important for this storyline. And the reason why? Because in the present day, he was the revolution. Remember, when it comes to the outer circle, each member technically represents something different when it comes to the world, machine, love, power, revolution, and the list goes on. Now, in volume 1 of Sentinel of Liberty, we actually saw the revolution be killed off by the Winter Soldier because he wanted James Barnes, of course, Winter Soldier, to technically take his place in the outer circle. Because when it comes to Gavrilo, when he does talk to Wolf back in the year 1922, at first he believes that Wolf is crazy about the whole idea of controlling society, controlling the human race. And he's kind of like, that's a bad idea because sooner or later we're gonna fail. Like, how in the world do you believe that we have the right moves or the right mindset to actually control the entire world? Now, that is the moment where we do see other members of the outer circle actually appear. And of course, they were given the same offer by Mr. Wolf as a way to say, let's come together and control the human race. Because if we do, we can be sure it will not fail. The human race will survive thanks to us because we are technically the smartest people in the world. We know what to do to make sure that the human race doesn't fail. And so right now, you have everybody else say yes to Mr. Wolf's offer. But when it comes to Gavrilo, he's kind of like no at first, but then he says yes. Now, here's the thing though. You can tell right off the bat that when it comes to Gavrilo, he wants to stop the outer circle. He believes that this is a bad idea. And so right now, he only joined them to hopefully stop them. Now, as we saw in the present day, he died because he wanted the Winter Soldier to actually replace him. to bring down the outer circle. Now you're probably wondering, hey, you said the year 1922. How in the world right now are they still alive? Of course, technology. Apparently back then, they had some advanced technology to be able to stay alive over 100 years. And so then we jump over to the present day. Now, when we do jump over to the present day, we actually do pick up right now with the first meeting of the Outer Circle, but with the Winter Soldier being involved, because now he is the new Revolution. Now, here's the thing though, because the old Revolution wanted Winter Soldier to join the group so that he'll be able to actually destroy the group from the inside out. But here's the thing, the Winter Soldier has his own reasons of why he wants to get rid of the Outer Circle. And his reasons is all about the idea that the Outer Circle had controlled his entire life. Let me explain. So remember, when it came to the Outer Circle, they want to make sure that everything is under their control. But on top of that, they did control certain people in their entire lives. And so when it came to Bucky, his entire life was technically a lie, meaning that the Outer Circle had controlled his entire life. They planned everything out for him. And so everything we saw for the Winter Soldier was technically planned by these guys right here, including the times when he was an assassin. Now, with that being said, when it comes to the Outer Circle, they have 5 assassins. Now, we saw 4 of them in the last video. 1 is dead, and that right there is a destroyer, and 1 technically left the group completely. But the last 2 are really important, which is the Winter Soldier, but now he's part of the Outer Circle. And the other assassin is Peggy Carter, of course, the old girlfriend of Steve Rogers. Now here's the thing though, there's still 1 more assassin out there that we have no idea about. And the question is right now, who is that assassin? Now, with that being said though, you do have the Winter Soldier actually take his chance in trying to kill off the Outer Circle. But the thing is, the Outer Circle been around for over 100 years, which means that they know what you're trying to do. They can easily figure out what you're trying to do. And so with that, his attempt is actually a failure. They were able to stop him. And then they remind him there are rules that you are not allowed to technically attack other members of our group at all. And so right now it's technically saying if the Winter Soldier wants to actually bring down the Outer Circle, he has to find a better way, because right now guns is not going to work at all. He has to find a more, unique kind of way. Now that is the moment where you do have Bucky actually go to his room. Now when he does go into his room, it's him right now trying to think of a more unique way of how he's going to actually take down the Outer Circle. But at the same time, he apologizing right now to Steve Rogers, because it's him saying, look what I did. I betrayed Steve Rogers one more time, thinking that I'll be able to actually bring down the Outer Circle so easily. But unfortunately, I cannot do that, which now seems like I'm going to have to play even dirtier than I wanted to actually be able to take down the Outer Circle, which means that this could actually affect other things down the road. Now with that being said, that is the moment where he's actually confronted by another member of the Outer Circle. And that would be Anna. Now, Anna technically represents love in the Outer Circle. And with her right now, this is her kind of giving us that vibe that technically she does not trust the other members of the Outer Circle anymore. And matter of fact, she feels like right now they are completely corrupted. And so right now it seems like she wants to build an alliance with Bucky Barnes in a way of saying, let us help each other out to technically get what we both want when it comes to the Outer Circle. Now we have no idea what she wants, but we do know what Bucky wants right now, which is to get rid of the Outer Circle. And so at the same time, it could mean the same thing for her as well, to get rid of the Outer Circle or to be able to leave the Outer Circle. Now she does give Bucky Barnes a gift. Now when it comes to this gift, it's really more of a statue of a gun, but she says, listen, I want you to realize that you need to forge your weapon in a different way before you actually fire it. Now, the meaning of that sentence is actually actually very important. And the reason why, because it's her saying you need to actually think of a weapon you could use against the other members of the outer circle. And then once you're ready, use that weapon to take us down. And so think of a more unique way of how to take us down. And then she leaves the room. But then we jump over to Peggy Carter, who's right now in London. Now, this is Peggy realizing that what Bucky told her in a previous storyline is actually true. That technically she was one of the 5 assassins who had worked for the Outer Circle. Here's the thing though. Her and Bucky, they had no idea that this entire time they were technically assassins for the Outer Circle. Now, when it comes to Peggy, she truly believed that she was doing some good in the world, but in reality, she was helping out the Outer Circle. Now, Bucky told her, but she did not believe Bucky at all at first. And the reason why? Because Bucky was technically a bad guy for a good period of time in the Marvel timeline. Now, yes, he is good, but this is Peggy saying, I still don't trust you at all. But now she knows that what Bucky told her is actually true. Now, you do have Bucky being able to actually communicate with Peggy and saying, listen, now you know what I said was true. I need your help. Unfortunately, I have joined the Outer Circle. And so with that being said, I really can't do much like I want to. And so I have to use you. I want you to technically be my eyes and ears out in the field when it comes to different things the Outer Circle is trying to do. Now, I'm going to make sure to keep you out of their reach, to make sure there's no way they can figure out that you're technically helping me out right now. But either way, I need your help out there to help me in here to take out the Outer Circle. And of course, you have Peggy say yes. And so right now, Peggy is technically the Winter Soldier's super spy. But then we actually pick up with the Outer Circle one more time for this video. And this is where we actually see the Outer Circle begin the process of playing their next round of games. Now remember, when it comes to the Outer Circle, each member technically represents something else in the world. So for example, you have one guy being the power of the world, the next person the money of the world, one person the machine, another person the love, and the last but not least, the revolution. Now, when it comes to Bucky Barnes, when it comes to his move for the next round of games, he says Sharon Carter to Steve Rogers. Now, this right here could mean a lot, because this could mean that technically Sharon Carter is the final assassin out of the 5 assassins the Outer Circle has been using. Because remember, we had already learned the other 4. We had no idea who was the 5th. And it seems like right now, Sharon Carter is the 5th. And Bucky might use Sharon Carter to go after Steve Rogers. But this getting into the first chapter of the storyline, we actually do pick up right now with Steve Rogers being confronted by Namor. Now, I really do like the opening pages of this storyline, and the reason why, because when it comes to Steve Rogers and Namor, they have fought alongside one another back in World War II, but at the same time, they were both on a team called the Invaders. Now, with that being said though, when it comes to these two characters, they have very high respect for one another. And so right now, this is Steve Rogers coming to Namor hoping to get some kind of advice on what to do next, or to hopefully get motivated enough to keep pushing forward. Because right now you have Steve very upset about the idea that Bucky had technically joined the Outer Circle, but also killed someone so that he'll be able to join the Outer Circle. Now, Steve knows that what Bucky is trying to do is to bring down the Outer Circle from the inside out, but at the same time, it's Steve realizing that when it comes to Bucky though, Bucky is doing this for revenge, because we kind of find out that when it comes to the Outer Circle, they have 5 assassins throughout time, and one of those 5 assassins was apparently Bucky. his entire life was technically a lie. And so because of that, you have Bucky wanting to get revenge against the Outer Circle. Now, the reason why you have Namor right now coming to Steve is to motivate Steve to push forward, because Namor realized that when it comes to Steve and when it comes to Bucky, they are technically the same character they were 100 years ago. And so because of that, the Outer Circle knows almost everything about them. And so right now it's Namor saying, if you want to take down the Outer Circle, you're gonna have to actually act different and do things different. But at the same time, you're gonna have to work in the dark, meaning that you might have to cross some lines if you're going to be able to actually bring down the Outer Circle. Now, Namor knows that when it comes to Steve Rogers, Steve is not going to cross any kind of lines at all. But you have Namor say, well, find someone or find a group of people that will be able to move around in the dark unlike you. And so that is the moment where you have Steve Rogers actually go around New York City. And of course, this is him right now thinking about what Namor had actually told him about the idea of finding different people who are able to move around in the dark, to find different people who could most likely help you to accomplish this mission when it comes to bringing down the Outer Circle. Now, when he does arrive back home, of course, that is the moment where he is called up by an old friend, and that is Roger Aubrey. Now, when it comes to Roger, he was the third destroyer. There were two before him, but he was technically the replacement for the second one, because the second one before him had taken the name of Union Jack. And so with the name Destroyer being out there, he had no other choice but to actually take up that name. Now, he was originally known as Dynamite because he had the ability to shrink down in size, but after that, he did become the third destroyer. But that was many, many years ago, right after World War II. And so this guy is technically an older man now. Now, he does have a little bit of super soldier serum pumping through his bodies, but at the same time though, this is an older fellow. He may be able to fight, but at the same time, he has to take things a tad bit slower than most heroes can. Now, with that being said, this is him right now telling Steve Rogers, let me help you. Let me help you actually save Bucky. Let me help you be able to bring down the Outer Circle. Now, that is the moment where you do have Steve actually go over to the apartment that belongs to Bucky. Now, when Steve arrives at the apartment, he comes to find out that Bucky has completely taken everything down. He is completely gone, but he did leave one particular item that is going to be somewhat important for the ending of this storyline. And matter of fact, I'll explain more about the item down the road in this video. Now, on his way back home after leaving the apartment of Bucky, you have Steve realize that someone is actually following him. Now, at first, he has no idea who is actually following him, but then he realized that he better go ahead and take care of this person before they actually try to kill him, because they could have connections to, of course, the Outer Circle. And so once you have Steve being able to lay out a trap out to catch the person that was actually telling him, he was able to come to find out it was Sharon Carter, the niece to Peggy Carter. And I want to say that when it came to Peggy and also Sharon, at first she was the sister to Peggy a while back, but then Marvel changed things, and so now she is technically the niece to Peggy Carter. Either way, when it comes to Sharon Carter, she's technically the somewhat girlfriend of Steve Rogers. I mean, every single time the two characters do meet up, they do the dirty. And matter of fact, in this book, they do the dirty once again. But at the same time, it's kind of like they are friends with benefits, but at the same time, they're still dating exclusively. Either way right now, this is Sharon Carter coming to Steve Rogers for help. And also on top of that, she does fix his arm, because when it came to Bucky, he did shoot Steve in the arm, and of course Steve was unable to actually completely heal his arm up. And so when it comes to Sharon, she was able to patch it up, and now Steve Rogers is back to 100%. But again, this is her saying, let's work together. I heard about the Outer Circle. I heard what's happening to Bucky. I heard what's going on right now with you. So let me help you bring down the Outer Circle. But if we're going to do that, we need to bring in other characters who can actually help us bring down the outer circle. But did we see Steve Rogers and Sharon Carter actually go to this underground tunnel? Now, when they do go to this underground tunnel, of course, they're meeting up with other characters that could possibly help them bring down the outer circle. And so this is right here is going to be the formation of the new Invaders team in Marvel Comics. Now, with that being said though, when they do arrive to this underground bunker, we kind of find out the other characters that is going to help out Steve Rogers and Sharon bring down the outer circle. So you have Hawkeye, who a matter of fact is going to leave right after this chapter right here. You also have Roger Aubrey, the current Destroyer. You also have Peggy Carter, Sharon Carter's aunt. You have the Reacted, one of the 5 assassins that belong to the outer circle. And finally, you have Nick Fury Jr. Now, with that being said though, when it comes to Reacted, we have to remember he was actually one of the 5 assassins that was working for the outer circle alongside with the Winter Soldier and also Peggy Carter. Now, here's the thing though, Steve Rogers was able to get the Reacted on his side, but when it comes to the Winter Soldier, well, hey, he's right now working for the outer circle. But here is the bigger thing. Right now, Steve has no idea that Peggy Carter was also one of the 5 assassins that was working for the outer circle. Now, at first, she had no idea because she believed all the different missions that she was doing was for the betterment of saving the world. But unfortunately, she was working for, of course, the outer circle. Now, Steve still has no idea that she is one of the 5 assassins. And so when it comes to Steve Rogers, he's kind of like, okay, we need to find the other 2 assassins. But in reality, he just has to find one more assassin. And matter of fact, we're going to see the last one at the very end of the storyline. Now, with that being said though, you have the team right now coming together and talking about what's going on when it comes to the outer circle. And of course, this is where you have Steve catch everyone up to know more about the outer circle. But then that leads into another thing, and that would be the Nega Knight. The Nega Knight is a new material in Marvel Comics. But here's the thing though, it's a very powerful piece of item. And we're going to learn more about this item as we go through the storyline, but also other chapters later on in this series. But it does have deep connections to Arnim Zola, and that right there is actually very important because right now apparently there was a secret lab found by Arnim Zola by Hawkeye's new Thunderbolts team. But here is the big thing though, because with this facility, apparently as soon as that facility was found, AIM had disappeared. And remember, AIM is Advanced Idea Mechanics, and they are known as this group of the smartest people in the world that come together and try to do different things when it comes to science. But apparently they have all completely disappeared. And so right now you have the Invaders believing there could be a huge connection right now between the outer circle, AIM, and also Arnim Zola's secret base that was found by the Thunderbolts. And so right now it's the team saying we have to figure out to stop the outer circle from getting into Arnim Zola's laboratory. Now, they had agreed to meet again in 2 days on Wednesday to discuss more about AIM in the outer circle. The problem is though, those 2 days never came around. And the reason why, because when Steve Rogers wakes up, he's no longer in New York. Homeboy is right now in Kansas. So when we get into the second chapter of the storyline, we actually do pick up right now with Steve Rogers realizing that Homeboy is no longer in New York, that he's in Kansas. But the big question is right now, how in the world did he get here? And what happened to the other characters who were in that room when they were forming the Invaders team? And so of course right now, this is Steve Rogers wondering what's happening right now back in New York, in Manhattan. And we kind of find out that back in Manhattan, it's right now being taken over by AIM, Advanced Idea Mechanics. And so this was their big move. But at the same time, this could be another move done by the Outer Circle. Because remember, the Outer Circle, they work behind the scenes. And so right now, this could be another move of theirs right now to bring down Steve Rogers, but to continue to control the world. And so, of course, you have Steve Rogers say, okay, listen, it's time for me to find my friends because we got to figure out what happened to us and how in the world we all ended up in different areas around the world. But then we get our first look of what it is like to technically live in the area of New York that is right now being controlled by AIM, because we actually do pick up right now with a set of characters that we met back in volume 1 of this series that Steve Rogers had met at community college. But at the same time, he also met a young boy who is his neighbor. Now, with that being said, we're going to use them to kind of see how bad it is right now when it comes to AIM taking over this certain area of New York. And of course, it's pretty bad. Now, right now, you do have his friends from the community college coming to his apartment looking for him to hopefully find him so that he'll be able to stop AIM. The problem is, though, he's not home. And matter of fact, the young neighbor boy says, if you're looking for Steve Rogers, he's not here right now. But here's the problem, though, because right now you have AIM trying to burn down his entire apartment building to just look for him. Now, luckily, his friends and the neighbor boy was able to escape, and their goal right now is to get somewhere safe to hopefully contact Steve and to hopefully find a way to bring down advanced idea mechanics. The problem is, though, as soon as they think they are about to get away, well, that is the moment they are actually captured by AIM just like that. And so now Steve and the Invaders have to go find them and save them. Now, when it comes to the rest of the Invaders, they are right now meeting up actually at some kind of abandoned train station, or a train graveyard more like. Either way, when they do meet up, this is right now them coming to realize that they are not just missing the last 2 days, they are missing the last 5 days. And that right there is actually very important, because now it seems like the Outer Circle and AIM did something to them to make them forget about the last 5 days. And the problem is right now, what happened to them though? What did the Outer Circle did to them in those 5 days? And so, of course, that is when you have Steve say, you know what? Let me call in an old friend, because I have a friend that has the ability to repiece lost memories to help us remember what happened to us in those 5 days. And of course, he is talking about Emma Frost. Now, this is actually pretty funny. And the reason why it's so funny, because the way he actually does call in Emma Frost is using a code word that he had to think about very loudly. And when it comes to that code word, he had to say the word mommy. And the reason why, because back in the original Hellfire event, when it came to X-Men comics in the middle of the Reign of X era of X-Men comics, in the Hellfire Gala event, Emma Frost looked at Steve Rogers and believed that Steve was actually attracted to her, but in reality he was not. When it came to Emma Frost, she reminds him of his mother, and so ever since then she's kind of like, because I remind you of your mother, here's the code word you're going to use to call me. And that code word is mommy. Now, of course, when she does appear, she does have the ability to figure out what happened to our heroes in those 5 days, because of course they all have a scar behind each of their left ears. And with those scars, of course, there are echoes to memories of what happened to them. And so, of course, right now, she's going to use their minds and their scars to figure out what happened to them in those 5 days. And that is the moment where we do get introduced to another version of MODOK. Now, this version is known as MODOK, but with a C at the end of it. And when I say a new version, I really mean more of a sleeper personality that is actually controlled by Outer Circle. Because the original MODOK, M-O-D-O-K, has this other personality, M-O-D-O-C, that's right now being controlled by the Outer Circle. But when it comes to MODOK, he's actually the final Starpoint assassin, alongside with the Winter Soldier, Peggy Carter, and other characters. Now with that being said, apparently the Outer Circle have brought in MODOK to shut down the Invaders for 5 days, but to also take away different memories as well in those 5 days, but also learn more about the heroes and use their worst fears and their best moments as a way to attack them, just in case the Invaders do come back and try to do anything to the Outer Circle. And so now when it comes to the Invaders, they now know that technically their minds were technically invaded by MODOK, this new assassin version of MODOK being used by the Outer Circle. But to wrap up the second chapter of the storyline, we actually do see right now Steve Rogers and Sharon Carter talking one more time after realizing that they had their minds invaded by this other version of MODOK. Now with that being said though, this is Steve Rogers realizing that he has to stop waiting. Stop waiting on Bucky to come back, because right now Bucky is trapped inside the Outer Circle gang. And because of that, it's right now Steve saying Bucky is not coming back. Bucky is going to stay up there until he's actually able to bring down the Outer Circle. But at the same time, I also want to bring down the Outer Circle. But our goal right now is to save Manhattan. And right now Manhattan doesn't need their regular superheroes. What they do need instead is the Invaders, a different kind of team that is going to be used to bring down AIM advanced idea mechanics, but also the member of the Outer Circle that's right now running this operation where AIM is right now controlling New York. Because even though this is AIM right now, of course, someone in the Outer Circle wanted this to happen. And so, of course, it's Steve saying we are going after that certain member of the Outer Circle. And so when we jump into the third chapter, you actually have the Invaders right now going back to New York and invading the area that's right now being controlled by AIM. Now we do see the Invaders right now attacking this area in 3 different locations all over the area that's right now being controlled by AIM. Now with that being said, I truly believed that Namor was going to be here as well, because 1, he was at the very beginning of this storyline, but 2, at the end of the second chapter, you had a cloud shaped like Namor. And so I believe that Namor was going to pop in at the very last second to help out the Invaders fight against the forces of AIM. Unfortunately, Homeboy does not show up, which honestly, it does make sense, because right now, Namor's only goal is to protect Atlantis, and that is truly it. Now, with that being said though, you do have our heroes right now being able to attack different locations that technically belongs to AIM. Now, here's the big thing though, guys, because while they are doing this, you actually have the new personality of MODOK watching them very closely, and that right there is actually very important. Now once our heroes are able to stop AIM in different areas, they realize where is AIM main base at, and so their goal is to now actually attack the main base and to hopefully bring down AIM once and for all. Now when it comes to the 3 teams of the Invaders who are right now attacking different areas that belongs to advanced idea mechanics, we actually do pick up with Steve and also Peggy. Now the reason why I want to focus on these 2 characters is because when it comes to these 2 characters, they used to be lovers. Now of course right now they're not, because Steve is with Sharon. Now with that being said though, Steve has no idea that technically Peggy is actually a triple agent. I mean, she's right now working for the Invaders. She's also was an assassin for the Outer Circle, but on top of that, she's kind of working with Bucky as a way to bring down the Outer Circle, but at the same time, she cannot tell Steve that in reality, she is working with Bucky right now to bring down the Outer Circle. Now with that being said, you do have Bucky right now kind of talking to Peggy and telling Peggy to tell Steve something very important as a way to motivate him, but to also say, do not give up hope on Bucky. That maybe Bucky's still out there and Bucky's still your best friend. And Bucky is still the person you know him as, and sooner or later he will come home to you. Now here comes the big surprise of this section right here, or this chapter in the storyline. Because we come to find out that the Outer Circle knew that the invaders would come back to New York and try to save the day, to free Manhattan from control of AIM. And so what they did was they had turned back on MODOK, of course the other personality of MODOK, MODOC. And with MODOC, he was able to hack into the minds of the invaders all over again. And so when it comes to our invaders, yes, they did come back to Manhattan. Yes, they were able to actually attack AIM in different areas and almost bring AIM down completely. But right when they were about to attack the main area of AIM, that was when they were stopped. And matter of fact, they have been reliving the fight over and over and over again, because right when they arrived at the main spot for AIM, they met MODOK and he was able to hack into their minds. And so technically right now, they are just reliving the same fight over and over again, not realizing that they never won truly. At the same time, when they do reach the end of every single replay, they're wondering, how in the world did we stop MODOK? They did not. And so of course, they have to relive everything all over again. And so then we jump into the 4th chapter of the book. Now, when we do jump into the 4th chapter of the book, we actually do pick up right now, technically with the main bad guy of this book. And of course, he is a member of the Outer Circle, and that would be Power. Because remember, each character in the Outer Circle, they represent something different when it comes to the world. So of course, you have one for Machine, one for Love, one for Power, and of course one for Revolution. And Revolution is of course the Winter Soldier. Right now though, the main bad guy of the book is Power, because right now is Power realizing it's about time to go ahead and get rid of Steve Rogers and his fellow allies. But at the same time, Power is saying, I know that all of this right here, the invaders, is technically right now Bucky, aka the Revolution, helping Steve Rogers and his fellow allies try to stop us, the Outer Circle. So let me go ahead and shut down this entire plan of his right now. Now that is the moment where we do jump back over to MODOK, and right now you have MODOK accessing the minds of the different members of the invaders. Now of course right now he is trying to actually use the memories of the invaders as a way to hunt their minds, to hopefully keep them busy long enough so that Power is able to get something else for the Outer Circle. Now that right there is actually very important, and the reason why, because when it comes to our heroes, they have gone through a lot, and I mean they have gone through a lot over the years. But when it comes to our heroes, there is one particular character that is actually right now not being fazed by what MODOK is trying to do to him. And of course, that would be the Destroyer. Because remember, when it comes to Roger Aubrey, he was actually known as Dynamite at first. Because of course, he had the ability to shrink down in size, a very small size. But either way, after that, he became a Destroyer. But those two code names right there mean a lot to him. Because technically, he is going to destroy what MODOK is building right here in this mindscape. But at the same time, he is technically a ticking time bomb, or a ticking dynamite that is going to explode in everything what MODOK is trying to build right now in this mindscape. Now, before we are able to actually see what Destroyer is going to do, we actually do see right now Power contacting Bucky to say, listen here, Revolution, our new Revolution of the Outer Circle. I knew what games you were trying to play. You're trying to bring us down. But the problem is, though, we have been playing this game for so long. And so, unfortunately, if you are going to try to bring us down, please do better. Please try even harder next time, because right now we can all see your moves so clearly. We know what you are trying to do. And unfortunately right now, what you're trying to do is not going to work on us. Now that is actually very huge, but then we kind of find out that right now, Power is getting another item that could technically help the Outer Circle continue on in controlling the world down the road behind the scenes. But the problem is, though, we have no idea what this item he's getting right now actually is. But getting back over to MODOK, because the reason why I say MODOK is about to fail thanks to Destroyer is the reason why, because Destroyer is right now reliving memories of him spending time with Brian. And Brian was actually the second Destroyer, but right after he let go of the mantle, he became Union Jack. But Union Jack and Destroyer, Roger Aubrey, they were a couple. And so, of course, it's now Roger saying, only thing you're doing right now, technically, is motivating me. Yes, you are using the face of my ex-boyfriend, my ex-lover, but at the same time, seeing his face still motivates me till this day. And so, unfortunately, you're not hunting my mind right now. You are getting me more pumped up to destroy everything that you are trying to do right now. And so because of that, you actually have Destroyer being the one to actually free the other heroes and break them out of the mindscape. And this, of course, leads into the big final battle between MODOK and our Invaders. Right before we are able to actually get into the final battle of this storyline, well, you have right now everyone wondering what is next, because they believe that right now technically MODOK is defeated. Unfortunately, you have MODOK actually contact Power saying, hey boss, listen, my mind failed me. I was unable to keep the Invaders busy. They're on their way towards you. But of course, Power needs more time. And so you have Power right now say, no, I need you right now to get right back up and continue to fight against the Invaders. And so, of course, that is the moment we see a second version of MODOK, MODOC, that has a bunch of weapons to be used against the Invaders. The problem is, though, his first target was actually Sharon Carter, but you didn't have Destroyer Aubrey, Roger Aubrey, step in front of her to protect her, and of course he took the blast, but unfortunately he died right there. And so right now we are getting the death of Destroyer here and now at the moment. Now here's the thing though, because with the death of Roger, of course, this affects everybody on the Invaders, but also affects Bucky as well, because Bucky knew freaking Roger. He was there with him, fighting alongside with Roger back in the 1940s, even in the present day. And so right now with Bucky, he is watching an old friend die. But again, this is Bucky right now trying to get revenge against the Outer Circle to bring them down. And unfortunately, a sacrifice had to be made to continue on with his mission. And so then we get into the moment where we actually do pick up right now with the Invaders working together to actually fight against MODOK, but also Power as well. And we do get a lot of splash pages to kind of show off this battle, to kind of move us along when it comes to the storyline, to wrap everything up, but to get us ready for, of course, the Cold War storyline that we're going to cover very soon on this channel. Now, with that being said though, when it comes to our heroes, they are able to actually stop MODOK, but thanks to Peggy getting a code word from, of course, Bucky, because Bucky knows how to actually shut down MODOK, because he is part of the Outer Circle, and so he does tell a code word. Now, she does use the code phrase as a way to hopefully shut down MODOK, which of course she does. But here's the thing though, you still have Power right now on the board and right now trying to fight against the forces of the Invaders. And so you do have our heroes being able to actually work together. Really more of Steve Rogers just not giving up. That's his whole thing. Like, apparently anytime he's in a corner, he just does not give up. And with him not giving up, he just finds a way to actually overpower the bad guy and save the day. And when it comes to Power, it is literally the same thing. He is just able to overpower Power and basically save the day. Now, after the battle, you do have Steve Rogers actually contact Bucky, or really you have Bucky contact Steve, because Steve knows that Bucky was actually watching the battle. And so he knows that Bucky knows that technically right now, when it comes to Roger, Roger is dead. And technically it's all because of Bucky. And so right now you have Steve saying, Are you happy? Because your revenge quest right now to bring down the outer circle cost us a friend. And you knew what I would do. You knew I would not give up until I bring you down in the outer circle. And now a friend of ours is dead. Is your revenge quest so important right now that other friends have to die? That right there is not fair at all. Now, when it comes to Bucky, he knows that Steve is right, but at the same time, when it comes to Bucky, he is the new revolution in the outer circle. And when it comes to the outer circle, this right now is just some big game they play to hopefully save the world or to save the human race. And so when it comes to Bucky, he's kind of like, I have to be the new revolution. I have to play the right moves to technically defeat power. And now my goal is to do the same thing to the other members of the outer circle. So unfortunately, yes, a sacrifice had to be made, but look on the bright side. We were able to take down one of the members of the outer circle. Now, when it comes to Sharon and the rest of the team, they can't believe what Bucky is actually saying and what Bucky is trying to do, because now one of their own is dead. Now that is the moment where we do jump forward 1 week. Now when we do see our heroes right now, along with the friends of Steve Rogers, having a barbecue as a way to say, let's come together and relax. Now, here's the thing. You have Nick Fury Jr. telling Sharon that she needs to stay around. And the reason why, because he's kind of like, listen, when you're around Steve Rogers, he is in a better place of mind. But on top of that, you bring the best out of him. And right now, he needs you the most. You are his girlfriend, quotation marks, but at the same time though, he needs someone like you around. So please stay around. Now that is the moment where we actually do pick up right now with Steve Rogers talking to Reacted. Now remember, Reacted was one of the 5 assassins that worked for Outer Circle. But of course, he turned good because of Steve Rogers. But right now, it seems like Reacted is being shut down temporarily because we have no idea what is Reacted. Is he a robot or was he a man turned into a robot? We still have no idea. But technically at the moment, he's right now being shut down for the time being. Now with him being shut down, that is the moment you have Peggy Carter watching Steve talk to Reacted. And with them being shut down, it's Peggy right now contacting someone else and saying, listen, Starpoint number 2 is offline. Reacted is offline. We are now able to move on to phase 2. And so right now it seems like Peggy is actually working for the Outer Circle again. At the same time, still working for, of course, the Winter Soldier, Bucky, but also part of the Invaders as well. Now, later on that night, we actually do pick up right now with Steve Rogers talking to, of course, his girlfriend, Sharon Carter. And of course, this is Steve right now asking Sharon to move in with him. And honestly, I love it a lot because it's the 2 characters right now getting back together once again. And this is actually a positive moment for Steve Rogers. Except while you have the 2 characters right now celebrating, well, that is the moment where you have Steve right now hear a knock at the door. Now Sharon does answer it and he wonders who it is. And of course we come to find out it is Steve Rogers' long lost son returning back in time for the next Captain America event known as the Cold War. And this is where we are going to end today's comic book video. Now with that being said, the next storyline is the Cold War crossover between the 2 Captain America titles. One for Sam Wilson and one for Steve Rogers. Now we are technically caught up And so to get into today's storyline, we actually do pick up right now with Sam Wilson being Captain America, and also he has his sidekick Falcon with him. Now remember, this is the newest Falcon, Joaquin Torres. And matter of fact, we met Joaquin Torres, I want to say almost 10 years ago now, when Sam Wilson first became Captain America. Either way, technically, just like Steve Rogers had a Falcon, Sam Wilson also has a Falcon as well. Now with that being said, our 2 heroes are right now going after a train. And the reason why, because on this train, apparently there is a huge shipment of super soldier serums that someone's trying to move across the country, and of course in an illegal way. And so right now you have Sam and Joaquin trying to stop that before they're able to get their hands on the drugs and use the drug in some kind of evil way. But here comes the big problem though, because while you have our two heroes trying to stop the train and get the huge shipment of the super soldier serum, well, that is the moment they are attacked by an unknown force. And it seems like right now this unknown force is also trying to get their hands on the drugs as well, on the super soldier serum. And of course, it does lead into a huge battle between our heroes and these other people right now who wants the super soldier serum. Now, throughout the battle, you actually have Sam Wilson get hit with some kind of rocket, which of course does knock him out, but give us a chance to go back in time to see how did we get to this point right here. And so with this flashback, we can technically say it takes place a few hours before the actual main storyline, the train mission right now. Now, when it comes to this flashback, we are technically seeing Sam Wilson right now on a date with Misty Knight. Now, honestly, I like this a lot because at this moment, these two characters are dating and I kind of like it. Either way right now, you have Sam and Misty Knight date being used as a way to kind of tell us what's to come later on in the storyline. And what I mean by that is right now, as you have our two heroes on their date, as they're walking around Harlem, they're seeing a lot of different problems in America, but especially one problem. And when it comes to that one problem, it's about the idea of minorities right now not being treated fairly in America. And of course, right now, we're seeing the hard working black class not being treated fairly when it comes to living in America. And that right there is actually very important. And the reason why, because technically right now, you have a lot of black people leaving America and going over to Wakanda. Wakanda right now has open borders saying, hey, you know what? Come over, live with us, and you will actually be treated fairly like you should have been back in America. Now, when it comes to Sam Wilson, he hates the idea. And the reason why, because technically he feels like we should stay here and try to make a change, to change how the way the world works. Unfortunately for him, when folks are leaving, it's technically saying to him, you are giving up. You're not even trying to fight to make a change here in America. And so honestly, he hates the entire idea of black folks leaving America to go over to Wakanda. Now, with that being said, that is the moment where you have Misty Knight give Sam the actual train mission by saying, hey, I got word that technically someone is trying to move a huge shipment of the super soldier serum. I need you and Falcon on that train to figure out who is the seller, but also who is the buyer as well, to hopefully shut everything down. And of course, Sam agrees, and then that leads us right back to the present day. And so when we do jump back over to the present day, we actually do see Sam Wilson being able to wake back up after being knocked out by a missile. Now, once he does wake back up, you do have him and also Falcon working together to technically stop everything right now that's happening in the present day. Stop the train. Find the huge shipment of the super soldier serum, but at the same time, stop these bad guys who are unknown to us still right now, who are trying to get their hands on the super soldier serum drug. Now, once you have our heroes actually work together, they do stop the bad guys. Most of them get away except one, because Falcon captured that one to bring back so that he'll be able to interrogate the one to figure out what in the world is going on with this new group of people who wanted the super soldier serum. But when the train is finally stopped, you didn't have Falcon do an entire scan on the train. And here's the thing though. When he does an entire scan of the train, there is no super soldier serum at all. And that right there is kind of like confusing, because Misty Knight usually gets very good intel, meaning that if she says she got word that technically there is a super soldier serum shipment on a train, there should be one. But right now, there's not one. But on top of that, Falcon does find something on the train at the very back. A group of people who were technically hiding in the train. And one of those people is actually his own cousin. And the question is right now, why were these people on the train for? And on top of that, could they be also holding the super soldier serum? Serum. Had a hard time saying that word, guys. Sorry. But could they be holding the super soldier serum inside of them? And that right there is a very good question to ask. But for Falcon and Sam Wilson, they're like, okay, you know what? Get these people off the train and just try to go from there. And now after that, we do kind of find out that the people that were found on the train, including Falcon's cousin, they're being moved right now to a facility that is technically off the book. Now for Falcon, that right there is actually a huge problem. And the reason why, because technically when it comes to that facility, it's actually right now being run by a guy who's technically anti-immigrants. The senator who technically hates the idea of immigrants coming into America illegally. Now, with that being said, though, this guy Mansfield, the senator, he did tell Falcon and Sam Wilson that he'll do his best to make sure these people are given the best medical help that he can give. And so right now they're going to this off-book facility to get that medical help. But at the same time, though, is Falcon saying, I feel like they might try to do something to get rid of them because technically right now they came into America illegally. And so you have Sam say, go stay with your cousin and the rest of them and watch over them to make sure that nothing bad ever happens to them at all. But then we jump over to a prison right now where we actually pick up with an old Captain America bad guy, better known as Crossbones. Now here's the thing, because technically right now, Crossbones is being broken out of prison by someone else. And we kind of find out the person is, of course, Hunter. Now, Hunter is also better known as the White Wolf, or better known as the adoptive brother of the Black Panther. And so right now it's kind of like, why in the world is this guy here breaking out a bad guy known as Crossbones? What is the White Wolf up to right now? What is he plotting to do to Wakanda, but possibly America as well? And that right there is a very huge question to be asked. But did we pick up with the second chapter? Now, when we pick up with the second chapter, we actually pick up right now with Sam Wilson in Latveria. Now, we have no idea why he is in Latveria, but right now he's there for some kind of special reason. But when he does go inside one of the many bases in Latveria, well, that is the moment he sees that Deadpool has been captured, and right now Deadpool is being tortured. And so this chapter is going to be a Deadpool Captain America team up chapter. And so then we jump 2 days in the past. Now, when we do, we actually pick up right now with Sam Wilson talking to Senator Mansfield. Now, remember, Mansfield is a senator who apparently right now hates the idea of people coming into the country illegally. And so of course right now, he's right now trying to set up different things to prevent those things from actually happening. Because remember, earlier when it came to Falcon, he was very worried about his cousin somehow going missing because Mansfield cannot be trusted. Either way right now, apparently Sam Wilson is working alongside with Mansfield on this super soldier serum problem, trying to figure out who in the world is trying to sell it, but at the same time, who in the world is trying to buy it. And so, of course, that's probably why you have Sam Wilson right now in Latveria. And matter of fact, when we do jump back into the present day, where we actually pick up right now with Sam Wilson and Deadpool right now attacking this base in Latveria, you actually have Captain America tell Deadpool, hey, the reason why I'm here right now because someone was trying to buy a huge load of the super soldier serum. And that right there is a very huge problem. And so right now, I am trying to figure out who in the world is trying to buy this actual super soldier serum and who is actually selling it as well. And of course, all my clues right now had led me over to Latveria. Now, once he does tell Deadpool all those different things, well, of course, you do have Deadpool being able to break free, but right after he does break free and they do continue on deeper into the actual secret base, well, they do run into more guards. And of course, this right here is going to lead into another battle. But then we jump over to Falcon, and when we do, it's technically right now Falcon just watching over his cousin Lucia. Because remember, the group of people they had found on that train was moved to a site that's technically off the books. Either way right now, is Falcon making sure that nothing happens to his cousin and the rest of the people, because he does not trust Mansfield at all. Because again, Mansfield hates the idea of people coming into America illegally. Now, with that being said though, right after you have Falcon tell us that he is not going anywhere at all, well, we do see the medical team right now running some tests on an elderly lady who was also part of that group that was found on the train. And apparently they have found something weird in her blood work. And so then we actually jump back over to Deadpool and Sam Wilson, Captain America. Now, when we do, this is the moment where you technically have Captain America tell Deadpool everything he needs to know to understand why he's here in Latveria. And what I mean by that is you have Sam Wilson tell Deadpool, listen, we were technically following a train that apparently had a load of shipments of the super soldier serum. Now, when we actually board the train, we could not find anything at all. But we did find a group of people that seemed to be trying to get somewhere safe, like they were on the run somehow. But on top of that though, the question is, who was trying to buy a huge load of the super soldier serum? And so all the clues Sam had led him over to Latveria. Now, while he's telling Deadpool all of this, they're right now still fighting against a bunch of guards that were technically inside this base in Latveria. But then we jump back over to Falcon. Now, when we do, it's Falcon right now checking up on his cousin. Now, this is actually only one page, but it is a very important page. And what I mean by that is you have Falcon wondering why in the world his cousin and the rest of the people were on that train. And she says, we were trying to get somewhere safe because we had technically escaped a lab. Now, of course, this is Falcon right now wondering, what lab did you actually escape from? Now, we do come to find out why Deadpool is right now in Latveria, because again, when Sam Wilson attacked that base, he found Deadpool technically being tortured by a bunch of men. And so we come to find out the reason why Deadpool was actually in Latveria is all about the idea that Deadpool is right now chasing down some kind of bounty. Apparently this guy is right now a leader to some kind of group. And when it comes to this group, they're right now trying to buy a whole bunch of high-tech weapons that were made out of vibranium. And that right there is a very huge problem because vibranium is a very special kind of metal in Marvel Comics. And so it's Deadpool saying, I came here to Latveria to take that guy out before he had the opportunity to actually make weapons with vibranium, or to buy weapons that are made out of vibranium. And so then we jump back over to Falcon. Now, when we do, it's technically right now Falcon still talking to his cousin about the laboratory that her and the rest of the people in that group on the train were able to escape. Now, technically, when we actually jump back over to Falcon, we do not learn anything at all about the laboratory. And so we're left to wonder, what in the world is this laboratory? And so for right now, it's kept as a secret. Now, with that being said though, technically right now, you have Falcon go over to actually interrogate the prisoner that Sam Wilson brought here after the whole train mess went down. And so of course you have Falcon right now asking this prisoner, why did you attack the train for? Like, what was your mission? Now here's the thing though, because the guy tells Falcon, listen, the only reason why I actually attacked the train because we were all paid to do it. Like someone paid us a good amount of money, and that is it. And so right now, it's Falcon wondering what in the world is truly going on. Now, while he is talking to the prisoner, well, that is the moment where you technically have a red alert. The alarms are going off in the entire building. And so you have Falcon right now go straight back over to his cousin to protect her. But right after he leaves, well, that is the moment we come to find out the guards are technically evil, because they kill off the prisoner that Falcon was just talking to make sure the prisoner did not leak any kind of information that could ruin their boss' goal when it comes to doing something big down the road. But either way, once you have Falcon being able to get back to his cousin, he does grab her and they do fly away. Right after bombs began to go off in the entire building to kind of blow up the entire building. But right after he leaves, we kind of find out the red alert was actually done by, of course, the White Wolf and Crossbones. They came here for some unknown reason and we have no idea why. But then we jump back over to Deadpool and Captain America. Now, when we do, it's technically right now Deadpool telling Captain America, listen, when it comes to bad guys, they want one thing right now, which is vibranium, because that right there gives them more access to more high-tech weapons to use against their enemies. That technically right now, the super soldier serum, that was totally last year. Right now, the bad guys are focusing on the idea of getting their hands on vibranium. Now, when it comes to Sam Wilson, he's kind of like, well, that's weird, because when it comes to vibranium, it's all in Wakanda, which means that right now, technically, that piece of metal does not get out of Wakanda at all. And so you have Sam right now saying, well, that is where you're wrong, because somehow vibranium is leaving Wakanda and now appearing other places by the hands of bad guys, taking those pieces and turning them into powerful weapons to use against their enemies. Now, while you have Deadpool and Sam Wilson right now trying to leave Latveria, well, they are technically stopped by, of course, Dr. Doom, because this is his country. And technically right now, these two guys came into his country illegally. And so right now, Homeboy is very ticked off. And so that's when we jump into the third chapter of this storyline. Now, when we do, we actually pick up right now with Dr. Doom expressing how angry he is with, of course, Sam Wilson and Deadpool as well. Because technically right now, these two characters came into his country illegally. And so right now, it's Sam saying, let me explain why we came here to your country. And what he's right now telling Dr. Doom is that when it came to the train, there's supposed to be a shipment of the super soldier serum. Now, unfortunately though, on that train, there was no super soldier serum, but apparently there was another group that was trying to get their hands on the super soldier serum. Now, we saw how it all ended out, because Sam Wilson and Falcon were able to stop that group. But Sam right now saying those guys were technically smugglers. They were trying to smuggle the drug over here into your country. And that is also why Deadpool is here as well, because technically when it comes to Deadpool, he was after someone who's a well-known weapon smuggler. And of course, that guy also is working out of Latveria as well. And so both our cases right now lead back to you. You apparently have smugglers in your country that's going out of their way to smuggle drugs, but to also smuggle weapons as well. And that right there is a very huge problem. Now, Dr. Doom is quick on his feet to basically say, no, you are wrong, and I'll tell you why. Even though it's technically Dr. Doom right now lying. Because you have Doom tell Falcon and Deadpool, the guys you have been following, yes, they are smugglers, but not for no drugs or for weapons, for food and supplies. Because right now my country is technically suffering thanks to other countries around the world, including the US. And so even though you believe my guys are technically smuggling illegal things, in reality, you are wrong. And matter of fact, if you only came to me and asked me that question, I would have told you that, and you could avoid all the mess you actually went through when you came into my country illegally. And so you know what? I'll let you and Deadpool go this one and single time. But If you come back here again, then I will technically go to war with the US. Do you understand? Sam Wilson. And Sam leaves, but Deadpool stays behind to have one more conversation with Dr. Doom. But then we actually pick up with Sam Wilson. Now when we do, it's technically him right now meeting up with Senator Mansfield once again. Now when the two characters do meet up, this is Sam right now giving Mansfield an update on what he had learned while being in Latveria. And you have Sam say, listen, this is what I learned technically, because apparently right now on the black market is vibranium. It's very hot right now on the black market, and technically it is being smuggled to different countries around the world. But that means that someone is able to smuggle vibranium out of Wakanda. And the question is right now, who? And so of course you have Mansfield tell Sam Wilson, well, it looks like you are going to go to Wakanda and to hopefully figure out who is actually doing it. But then we jump back over to Falcon and his cousin Lucia, who's right now going to a secret shield base because right now they need somewhere to hide. Now, of course, remember, they just left the last facility that was attacked that was supposed to be off the books. No one should have known about that place at all. Now, here's the thing though, they have no idea who actually attacked the base, but we know who it was. It was the White Wolf and of course Crossbones as well. Either way right now, this is where we kind of learn a little bit more about what happened to Lucia and the other people on the train. And we kind of find out that technically right before they were brought to the laboratory that she had escaped from, that one day her and her friends were going home one day on the bus. But that was the moment where some kind of gas was released on the bus to knock them out. And of course, they were then transported over to the laboratory, of course, the one that she had escaped from. Now, this is Falcon right now saying, please stay here in the shield base. But on top of that, I'm going to give you something to use to call me just in case there is an emergency. But I have to get back out there to help out Sam Wilson, but at the same time, figure out what in the world exactly happened to you. But then we actually pick up with Sam Wilson. Now, when we do, we actually see him right now going to a nearby prison. And the reason why, because he is actually meeting up with a prisoner known as Cam. Now, Cam is just an old friend of Sam. Matter of fact, when I first saw this, at first I thought this was going to be the long lost brother of Sam Wilson. It's not. Either way right now, it's technically Sam meeting up with Cam to ask him if he knows anything right now about the idea of vibranium being smuggled out of Wakanda, because technically that is very huge. Now, this is Cam telling Sam, yes, I do know something. And it seems like right now to Cam, he's saying that when it comes to vibranium being smuggled out of Wakanda, it does have a huge connection to what's happening right now in America with the black people. And remember, right now in America in comics, in the storyline, you have black folks trying to leave America and actually go over to Wakanda, so that they have the ability to feel very appreciated for once, better than they do here in America. And so right now, it's technically Cam saying there could be something going on right now with those two things. Maybe someone is using that right there as a way to technically smuggle vibranium out of Wakanda. Now, here's the thing though, because for Sam, he still has no idea why black people are trying to leave America and go over to Wakanda. And you have Cam say, listen, we do a crime here and we are locked up just like that. But even out there in the world, in America, you're still technically locked up. You are technically not able to do things that you want to do because the color of your skin. And so why not go to Wakanda where you're able to do more things where you actually do feel appreciated, but have more freedom as well. You're not locked in. And that right there is very huge. But at the same time though, what is the actual connection when it comes to vibranium right now being smuggled out of Wakanda and also black people trying to leave America to go over to Wakanda? And so you have Sam call up Shuri, because Shuri is actually, of course, one of the many people who are in charge of Wakanda right now. Now, with that being said, this is Sam right now giving Shuri an update in what's happening right now when it comes to vibranium being smuggled out of her country into other parts of the world. Because he said, listen, there was a train that was supposed to have the super soldier serum, but that was actually a fake lie. There never was a super soldier serum. But on top of that, the train was attacked by another group. But that other group was attacking the train because they got word that there was another kind of shipment. Of course, that shipment was vibranium. And of course, they were trying to get their hands on that shipment as well. Now, here's the thing. On the train, there was no vibranium. There was no super soldier serum. Either way right now, someone out there is being able to smuggle a huge amount of vibranium out of your country into different parts of the world. And that right there is a problem. And so I want to work with you guys to figure out who in the world is trying to do that. Now, you would think that Shuri would say yes because she knows Sam Wilson. They do have close ties. But here's the thing though. She says no, because the way Wakanda works is that if you commit crimes on Wakanda soil, then only Wakanda should be able to handle that problem, meaning that other countries cannot help out at all. And so right now, she is telling Sam, no, unfortunately, this is a Wakanda problem, not an American problem. So unfortunately, we are not going to work with you to figure out who is right now smuggling vibranium out of our country. Goodbye, and that is it. So after that, you have Sam kind of get upset with the idea that Shuri did not want to actually work with him when it comes to figuring out who is right now smuggling vibranium out of Wakanda. And so what he did was he filled out an application to say, I'm someone who wants to leave America and go over to Wakanda because I'm a brother that's right now tired of how America is actually treating me right now. And so he's right now lying and saying, I want to go to Wakanda for more freedom, but to also do his own investigation. But then we jump back over to Falcon. Now, when we do, it's technically Falcon right now back in Mexico. And the reason why, because technically it's him right now trying to figure out what happened to his cousin Lucia. What laboratory did she escape from? And we kind of find out she worked at some warehouse. But after you finish your shift, you're then able to get a ride home on the bus. The problem was though, the bus was actually the trap because you didn't have Falcon watch a bus leave the warehouse. But once they do leave the warehouse, there was going to be a process of them getting gas and of course being brought over to the laboratory that Lucia was able to escape from. Now here's the thing though, because while you have Falcon right now observing what's happening to these innocent people on this next bus right now heading towards the laboratory, well, that is the moment we kind of find out he gets shot in the back or knocked out from behind by crossbones. And we kind of find out the laboratory that Lucia had escaped from belongs to the White Wolf. But on top of that, the White Wolf has a huge shipment of vibranium, which means that technically the White Wolf would be the one who's right now smuggling vibranium outside of Wakanda. And that right there is actually very huge. And so then we get into the fourth chapter of the storyline, where we actually do pick up right now with Falcon technically being held hostage by, of course, the White Wolf and also Crossbones. But you then have the White Wolf call up Crossbones and say, okay, we're now moving into the final position of our plan, the final stage of our plan, and your transport has arrived. So get on that jet and get ready for our next big move. But then we jump back over to Sam Wilson, who's right now in Wakanda. Now, with him being in Wakanda, he's technically right now greeted by some guards of Wakanda. And these guards say, hey, you, please come with us to a different part of Wakanda. Now, at first, it seems to be like a private tour. But of course, it's not that at all. Because we kind of find out these guards know who he is. They know that Sam Wilson is Captain America, or one of the two Captain America's. Either way, they actually take Sam over to a private area where of course he is confronted by Crossbones. And this is Crossbones saying, dude, we know who you were as soon as you arrived in Wakanda. Either way, I felt like, and the rest of my crew felt like, we should give you a private party, aka meaning that we are here to technically kill you now. So are you ready to die? But then we jump back over to Falcon, and right now is Falcon still being a prisoner. Now here's the thing though, because that is the moment where he's actually saved by other prisoners. Now these other prisoners are just like Lucia. They were technically kidnapped for unknown reasons, most likely for different kinds of experiments. Either way, these two ladies were able to break into the area that Falcon was being held in and of course break him free, but didn't need his help right now to be able to actually escape. And so of course they tell him, hey man, we need you right now to get back up to basically help us escape, because right now the two of us are not enough to get everybody out of here like we want to right now. And so we jump back over to Wakanda. Now, when we do jump back over to Wakanda, this is actually where we do see Crossbones kind of give Sam a small hint in what's happening right now with him and also the White Wolf. Now, here's the thing though, because you do have Crossbones tell Sam about the White Wolf and how the White Wolf was able to technically read Sam like a book. Knew everything Sam and Falcon were going to do. Now here's the big thing though, because when it comes to Sam, he has no idea who the White Wolf is. And that right there actually is very important, because not a lot of people know about the White Wolf, the the step-brother to T'Challa and Shuri, the adoptive brother to T'Challa and Shuri. And so with that being said, for Sam, he's all like, who is the White Wolf? Wait, you're telling me T'Challa has a brother that was adopted around the same time he was born? Wait, what? What in the world is going on? But at the same time though, apparently when it comes to the White Wolf and also Crossbones, they're working on a new kind of weapon. Some kind of bioweapon. Either way, because Crossbones is right now just talking and talking, it gave Sam the perfect chance to actually struck Crossbones right in the face, and of course it leads into a battle. But then we jump back over to Falcon. Now when we do, it's technically right now Falcon trying to escape the prison or the laboratory that is owned by the White Wolf. And of course he does have help from the women who are also trying to escape as well. Now once they're all able to actually escape, it does lead into the idea of Falcon right now hearing the name of one of the ladies. And of course one of the ladies had a name that's very similar or the same name as his mother has. And so of course it does remind him of his mother. And she does somewhat look like his mother in some areas. Also the other lady who's kind of older reminds him of his grandmother. Either way, it's technically right now Falcon happy about the idea that he was able to save a bunch of people from the laboratory that was going to do some kind of random experiments on them. But then we jump back over to Sam Wilson, who's right now fighting against Crossbones. Now when it comes to this battle, they do go back and forth. Now here's the big thing though, because while they're fighting against one another, at first it is Crossbones right now being able to get the upper hand, because we have to remember Sam Wilson does not have the super soldier serum. He's just a regular guy that has the ability to talk to birds. That's literally it. But here's the thing though, because with Crossbones right now technically winning the battle, well, that is the moment where you do have Sam use that power, where of course he is able to talk to a bunch of birds to kind of help him fight against Crossbones, which of course does help him win the fight. Now, right after that, you have Crossbones right now technically tell Sam the master plan of the White Wolf, and says that when it comes to the White Wolf, he was going to cause a huge national incident in Wakanda by basically killing off a bunch of people in Wakanda. And of course, the people that were going to die were the people that were technically leaving America and coming over to Wakanda. And that is where the bioweapon comes in, because technically what was happening was every single person that got their medical checkup before coming to Wakanda was injected with this bioweapon that of course was going to kill a bunch of people as soon as they arrived in Wakanda. Now here's the thing, once all those different things began to happen, they were going to blame it on Sam Wilson to make him look bad, but to also cause some problems between America and Wakanda as well. And that right there is actually very huge. But here's the thing though, because while you have Crossbones right now telling Sam everything he needs to know, well, that is the moment where you actually have Sam get attacked by the Black Panther, T'Challa. And the reason why, because remember, Shuri said, we are not going to work with America at all. This is a Wakanda problem. But of course, now with Sam being here, it technically looks like he is a spy, but also illegally here and breaking a bunch of different laws. And so this actually leads into a huge battle between the Black Panther and of course Sam Wilson. Now this battle is actually pretty important, and the reason why, because technically right now is both characters having different viewpoints on how to handle this actual situation. See, when it comes to Sam Wilson, he's kind of like, listen, Crossbones is American, and technically right now he's on a crime in your country, but I have the right to come after this guy because one, he is American, but two, he was also attacking Americans. Even though the Americans that he is attacking are being attacked in Wakanda, I still have the right to basically arrest him in any kind of country I want. But when it comes to Black Panther, he's all like, no, you don't have the right to actually arrest someone in my country because this is Wakanda. And Wakanda, we handle our own problems. We don't need any kind of help from America at all. But here comes another viewpoint they have a difference in. See, when it comes to Sam Wilson, he feels like T'Challa doesn't understand the struggle. And what I mean by that is, when it comes to Black Panther, technically he was always part of the royal family. Yes, he did lose his father. Yes, he did lose his mother. But technically right now, it's kind of like you still have the royal life. You still were in the royal family. When it came to my parents, they didn't die the way your parents did. Mine was gunned down. Mine was shot for different reasons. They were trying to be good people and they got in the wrong situations and they basically died. But the reason why they're having this conversation right now, because it's technically Sam telling T'Challa, look at what you could have done for the people across the world, your people, the Black people across the world, because technically you have the medicine, you have technology, you have all these different things that could help people out left and right, but you don't do a thing at all. And that right there bothers me. But here is the big thing though, because when it comes to T'Challa, he's all like, look at you though. A typical American, because you went through struggles, you felt like you had the right to come into my country and basically help my country. No, you don't have that right, because again, this is not your country though. This is our country. You're technically invading in other countries' problems where you do not have the right to do that. And you're like, man, this argument right now is getting very real. Now, of course, this battle does go on for a few more pages. But the battle actually ends with both characters falling down not a huge waterfall, but a smaller version of a huge waterfall. Now, after that battle, you do have Sam be confronted by Falcon, who does bring him a brand new outfit to wear technically. Now, with that being said, then they're both actually confronted by Shuri. Now, Shuri is ticked off because again, she told Sam Wilson, you are not allowed in my country at all. Like, this is a Wakanda problem and we are going to handle that problem on our own. Now, here's the thing though, because again, even though she said that, he disobeyed what she said. And so technically he did invade her country illegally. But that's the problem right there, because when it comes to Americans, we feel like we have the right to go in any country and help those countries out, even though they did not ask for our help. And so right now is Shuri saying, look at you guys. We said we'll handle this, but look at what you did. You came into our country illegally, and now you caused a whole international incident. And that right there is a huge problem. And Shuri has the right to say that right now, technically, to Sam Wilson. Now, this gets even worse because we cannot forget that right now, a lot of black people were leaving America and going over to Wakanda to have the ability to be appreciated in a better country. But because what Sam Wilson did right there is her now saying they all have to go back now. Because thanks to America and their heroes, you guys feel like you have to do anything you want in our country. I don't like that. And so basically, every single black person right now in Wakanda who came from America has to go back now. And that right there ticks off Sam a lot because they are innocent people. But because of his actions, now other people are technically being hurt by it. And so you have Sam leave before things get even worse. But at the same time, though, the White Wolf, the adoptive brother T'Challa, is still out there right now, about to cause more problems for Wakanda, but also for America. And so this is where we actually do pick up with Sam Wilson back in New York. Now, with him being back in New York right now, it is him technically at the moment talking to T'Challa. And this is T'Challa right now saying, listen, I understand what happened in Wakanda was a huge mistake. And it's not really him talking about Sam Wilson, more about what Shuri did. Because at this moment in time, T'Challa is not in charge of Wakanda. Technically, right now, it is actually just Shuri and a few other people. Either way, right now, it's him saying, I would have not done that, but she did, and unfortunately, it had happened. But at the same time, though, I understand why you did what you had to do, but I also hope you understand what I had to do as well. You want to protect America, I want to protect Wakanda as well. But with that being said, though, I want to tell you one thing. We're not friends. And I will protect my country, and I will tear the world apart to tear my country. Meaning that if they get into a fight again, these two characters could fight to a literal bloody mess. And that right there is actually very important. But the book actually ends on one heck of a note, because even though the White Wolf plans technically failed, he still has a backup plan ready to go. He still plans on technically overpowering or overthrowing Wakanda, and also overthrowing, of course, America as well. But this is where So getting into today's video, we actually do pick up with the Prime Minister of Monda, Janie Scowlin, who's right now at the United Nations meeting giving out a speech. And this is her saying that her home country, they need help right now, because over the years, they have gone through so many different kinds of struggles. And with those struggles, of course, a lot of people are left with nothing, no schools, no money, hardly any clothes around. And so of course it's her saying, we need your help from other countries to help give us schools, to help give us food, to help give us clothes. We just need support. We are finally in the right spot where now my country has me, their prime minister, to lead them in the right direction. But at the same time, I can't do it by myself. And so I need the help from other countries to basically help restore my country to a better state of mind. Now, with that being said, though, she even says other African countries are technically not helping out. And I want to change that. I want to have other African countries also help us out, because we all belong to the same continent, Africa. She's also wondering if Wakanda could help as well. Now, while she does give out this speech, we do see Sam Wilson watching her give out this speech, because Sam Wilson was assigned to protect her. Because she is a prime minister visiting from another country, technically because she's a brand new prime minister, they want to make sure that nothing bad happens to her. And so Sam has to watch over her and make sure nothing truly bad happens to her. But at the same time, he's very intrigued in her speech, because it really seems that she is trying her best to save her home country. And this book is really building off of the last video, the last storyline. And what I mean by that is, remember, Wakanda did offer the people of America, the black people of America, the ability to leave America and come over to Wakanda, where they'll feel love. They'll be appreciated, not hated on. And so, of course, you had a lot of black folks say, yeah, you know what? Let's leave America and go over to Wakanda. Except thanks to the White Wolf, Sam Wilson, and Black Panther, Wakanda changed their mind and said, know what? Never mind. If you are not from Wakanda, you gotta go back home, back to America. And this book right here answers the question, what happened to the people who gave everything up to come to Wakanda? Because now they have no way back home to America. And matter of fact, this book shows what happens to them. Now, with that being said, when it comes to the Prime Minister of Monda, Janie Scotland, she's saying that what she's trying to do in her country is build a utopia where everybody is welcome, no matter what their skin color is or their religion, and the list goes on. But when it comes to Sam Wilson, he hates the idea so much because unfortunately it is impossible to have a utopia. But on top of that, what he's trying to do right now in America is say, no, I'm trying to prove to my fellow black people, we should not be leaving America. We should be staying in America and proving that we deserve to stay in America, that we have the rights to be here. If we leave, we are basically giving up our rights and we're no longer fighting back against the ones who actually do hate us. And so when it comes to Sam, he's all like, listen, your idea is great and all, but I have my own goals right now that I'm trying to follow. But on top of that, I have to make sure that you are protected though, because with you being the new prime minister, that means you're going to have a few people come after you and kill you to get rid of you so that they are able to do what they want to do in your home country. And matter of fact, when it comes to Sam Wilson, he called it because as soon as he walks outside the UN building with the prime minister, an attack goes off, starting with her grandfather, because he is having a heart attack. Now, when it comes to his heart attack, of course, it was forced to him. Someone gave him one. But on top of that, you have guys appear with jetpacks and guns who are here to kill off the prime minister. And so you have Sam calling Falcon say, hey buddy, I need your help to protect the prime minister, but to also stop the bad guys as well. And so of course you have our two heroes work together to protect the prime minister, but to also take down the bad guys. Now here comes one of the many problems in this section. The first is that when it comes to Falcon, he is not watching his back. And so when he's on the ground just looking around, you have one of the bad guys being able to come from behind and eject some kind of chemical in his body. And this chemical is going to be very important because it's going to change Falcon completely. But of course, he does pass out. And with him passed out, it's now all on Sam Wilson to protect the prime minister. Unfortunately though, there was a huge explosion. And with that explosion, Sam Wilson did lose the prime minister. But when he finds her, of course, he finds her. But right now, her body has been impaled by some kind of metal piece. And so now it seems like she is about to die. And so you have Sam Wilson take both the prime minister and also Falcon to a nearby hospital. Now, when they do arrive at this hospital, you do get word that when it comes to the prime minister, she died at the hospital. They try to save her life, but unfortunately she died. And when it comes to Falcon, he's right now in a coma and they have no idea what kind of chemical was put inside his body. But for Sam Wilson, he's saying, you know what? I'm going over to Monda and figure out who was behind this attack, because this is where we learn there's still a civil war in her home country where you had people on the prime minister's side, but you also had another side who hated the idea of her being in charge. And so of course that means the other side of this civil war in Monda, they planned this attack to go after the prime minister, which they did, and they were able to kill her off. But now Falcon got hurt in the mess as well. And so you have Sam say, you know what? I'm going over there to Monda and figuring out who in the world did this to her, but also to my partner. Now, this could be said, this is Sam saying I'm getting revenge, but at the same time, it's Sam saying, no, there's a bad guy right now in that country who's going to kill off even more innocent people to get what he wants, which is complete control over that country. And that is not fair at all. And so you have Sam saying, I'm going over there to stop the bad guy and bring him back here to pay for his crimes. With the death of the prime minister, you now have her entire country wondering, what's next? Because the prime minister promised so much: schools, more jobs, more food, more clothes. But now they have nothing, it seems like, or they're never going to get anything at all. And so you have the people wondering what's going to happen to their country. Now we come to find out who was behind the attack at the UN. It was the White Wolf, because he is from Monda. This is his home country, and he feels like he has the right to come in and say, I'm going to take over this country and make it better than she would have, because I feel like I am a better leader than she is. Now, there is another reason why he is doing this, because he wants to build a country that is better than Wakanda, to get back at Wakanda for how Wakanda had treated him. And so this is his end goal, to build a better Wakanda. And so when we jump into the second chapter, it's Sam Wilson telling Senator Mansfield that he is about to go over to Monda to figure out who was behind the attack on the prime minister. Now we know who it was. Of course, it was the White Wolf. But for Sam Wilson, he has no idea at the moment. And on top of that, he found out there is a civil war happening over there, because you have the people who did believe in the prime minister fighting against the forces of the White Wolf. And so right now, you have a civil war in that country. Now, when it comes to Senator Mansfield, he believes that Sam is not really going there to bring peace, but instead to get revenge to what happened to the prime minister, but to also what happened to Falcon. And you have Sam say, no, it's not revenge, it is justice, because what this bad guy did was on American soil, and I have to stop the bad guy just for that reasoning right there. Now, of course, it really is more revenge, but it's Sam lying to Mansfield saying, no, it's not revenge, it's more about justice. Either way, you have Mansfield tell Sam, well, you're not going alone. With Falcon down, you need a new partner. And matter of fact, I know the best person to replace Falcon for this one particular mission. And we come to find out his new partner is going to be Ian Rogers, the adoptive son of Steve Rogers. See, Steve found Ian in Dimension Z when Ian was a young boy. And after that, you had Steve raise Ian to a young adult. But after that point right there, Ian was able to come over to the main Marvel universe. Now, when he did that, he became a partner for Sam Wilson, because at that point in time, Sam just became the current Captain America. Now, with that being said, Ian got seriously injured to the point where Sam had no choice but to move on and get a new partner, which is Falcon. And that right there is a problem, because to Sam, he believed that Ian was dead, but in reality, Ian was not dead, just seriously injured. And so for Ian, he's kind of like, you did not even bother to make sure if I was dead or alive. You just assumed I was dead and you moved on with your life and got a new partner. And that sucks. So yes, I'm going to accept this mission, but I'm telling you right now, there is bad blood between us. And don't expect me to follow every single orders that you give on this mission. And so you have Sam and Ian arrive in Monda, and when they do arrive, it's really more of Ian not following any orders at all. Because right now, when it comes to Sam and Ian, when they do arrive in Monda, they're trying to protect innocent people who are being attacked by a group of guys who have military grade weapons. But here's the thing, they work for the White Wolf. Now for Sam and Ian, they have no idea that these guys are working for the White Wolf. All they know right now is that they have to protect the innocent people who are trying to get away from the bad guys, the ones with the heavy duty weapons. Either way, when it comes to Sam and Ian, when they're trying to work together, Sam is having a hard time giving any orders to Ian. And the reason why, Ian's not listening to Sam, because to Ian it's kind of like, why should I listen to you? There's bad blood between us right now. I cannot trust you, so why should I help you? But for Sam it's more of, dude, we don't have the time for you to act like this. And the reason why, because we have innocent people right now that need our help. So please stop acting like a baby and help me out to protect the innocent people who need our help currently. And after Sam and Ian were able to get rid of the forces of the White Wolf, they are then confronted by one of the many leaders of the resistance who are right now trying to fight against the forces of the White Wolf. And her name is a tad bit hard to pronounce, and I did try my best to figure out how to pronounce it. And matter of fact, I did ask my wife, who's from the country of Nigeria, to see if she has an idea how to pronounce this name. And when it comes to her name, we both believe her name is pronounced Bathbale or Bathabale. I really hope I pronounced that name correctly. Either way, when it comes to Bathabale, she is one of the many leaders of the resistance who are right now trying to fight against the forces of the White Wolf. Now, she does show that she loves the idea that Sam and Ian being here to help fight against the forces of the White Wolf. But while you have the three characters talking to one another, well, of course, that is the moment you do have more guys who work for the White Wolf appear. And so Sam and Ian both realize they have no choice but to retreat. The problem is though, they have no idea to retreat to, except that is the moment you have a young boy say, I know where we can go. We have been using a bunker as our main base to plan our attacks out against the forces of the White Wolf. If you follow me, I can take you guys over to that bunker where we should be protected from them. But we have to jump over to Falcon, and when we do, we see Falcon waking up from his coma, because remember, thanks to a chemical that he was injected with, he was put in a coma, but also his body was altered to look more animal-like. Except when he wakes up, we come to find out his mind has also been altered as well, where he's thinking more like an animal rather than a human. And so of course, he right now hungers for food. And so when he looks at the staff at the hospital, he said, oh gosh, you guys look like food and I want to eat you. And so it seems like he is about to attack the staff at the moment because they look like food to him. And so as we dive into the third chapter, we pick up with Sam and Ian trying to protect the resistance from the forces of the White Wolf. Now, while they're trying to do that, they're hoping the young boy will be able to find the passageway that leads into the underground bunker that the resistance use as their secret base. Unfortunately though, the young boy does not remember where the door is actually at. And so Sam and Ian have to hold off the forces of the White Wolf long enough for the boy to remember where is that door. Either way, while you have our two heroes doing that, well, you have Sam get a tad bit more rude towards Ian. Now, the reason why Sam is doing that, because Sam is very worried about Falcon, and he's hoping that Falcon is okay. Either way, our heroes were able to hold off the forces of the White Wolf long enough for the boy to find the door that leads to the underground bunker. But right when Sam and Ian are able to get inside the bunker, you have Sam apologize to Ian. But again though, Ian is still mad at Sam for technically the past mistake where Sam thought Ian was dead and did not even bother to make sure that Ian was dead and just moved on with his life. But getting back over to Falcon, we do see Falcon right now still going crazy as an animal. And matter of fact, we do see that part of his mind realized that what he's doing right now, attacking the people at the hospital, is wrong. And so he does force himself to leave the hospital and go somewhere else. And matter of fact, where he goes to is Arizona. And the reason why? Because his family is out there now in Arizona. And we met a couple of them in our last video. Either way, when he goes there, he crashes there and they hear a loud noise outside, and that was Falcon. And they realize there is something wrong with their grandson slash cousin, and they're wondering what in the world is going on with Falcon right now. Is he okay? And so you have grandma say, take the young boy inside and we'll try our best to help him heal through whatever he's actually going through. But we jump back over to Sam and Ian, and when we do, Sam and Ian are meeting up with the rest of the members of the Resistance, meeting up with the other leaders of the Resistance. Now, when they do meet up with Sam and Ian, this is the moment Sam finds out who is behind the attacks in Monda, but also who killed off the Prime Minister. And Sam finds out it is the White Wolf. And Sam cannot believe that once again, he is involved in another problem with the White Wolf. And so for Sam is even more angry about the idea that once again, he has to deal with the White Wolf. Because Sam knows it was the White Wolf that caused the entire Wakanda problem in the last storyline. But on top of that, now his partner is in the hospital. And on top of that, now innocent people in this country are being killed off because the White Wolf has some kind of revenge plan against T'Challa and Wakanda. And so you have basically Sam say, we are going to find the White Wolf. And when we do, I am going to beat this man down. But let's not forget what I said earlier when it came to this book. This book is going to answer a very important question. And that question is, what happened to the people that gave up everything to go to Wakanda in the last video? They all left everything behind in America to come to Wakanda for a better life, to only be turned away from Wakanda and to be forced to go back home to America. But unfortunately, they have no way to get back home. What happened to those people? And we come to find out they had to go to nearby countries, neighboring countries to Wakanda, and unfortunately had to live there. And most of the people, they came over to this country right here. And at first, for the last couple of weeks or months, they had a great time in this country because they were helping to rebuild this country from the ground up. But unfortunately now this country is in a civil war. And so those people who left America, went to Wakanda for a better life, to only be turned away from Wakanda to go to a different country, are now going through an even harder life in another country that's right now in a civil war. Because you do have Sam be confronted by someone he used to fight against a long time ago, a character known as Nightshade. And really, she's not that important for this storyline, except she's an example of what I just said earlier. She was one of the many people that gave up everything to go over to Wakanda and unfortunately be turned away. But you did have the other leaders of the Resistance say, hey, listen, you guys may have been enemies in the past, but let's move on past that because now I need everybody's help to defeat the White Wolf. Can y'all work together? And you have Sam and Nightshade say, yes, we will work together to stop the White Wolf and free your country. But this is a great moment for the Resistance because now they have extra help to fight against the forces of the White Wolf. Except we have our team right now getting ready for their first attack against the White Wolf. You have somebody run in crying out for help. And the reason why? Because the White Wolf just blew up a nearby hospital. Innocent people were just killed trying to get medical help. And this is the White Wolf trying to win this civil war. But now innocent people are dead, and this ticks off Sam even more. And so as we dive into the 4th chapter, you have Sam, Ian, and also the members of the Resistance wondering, what should they do here? And the reason why, because a place, a hospital, was just bombed by the forces of the White Wolf. But the question is right now, should they go there to help out the innocent people who could have been affected by that bomb? Now for Sam and the members of the Resistance, they agree that they should go there and to help out the innocent people that were affected by the bomb. But for Ian, he's all like, no, this is a trap. It's a clear as day trap. As soon as we arrive, the White Wolf is going to do something to capture us, because the White Wolf would know that you guys would go out of your way to help out the innocent people that were affected by the bombing. So why would you put yourself in that position? But for Sam, he's all like, the reason why, because innocent people need our help. And so we are gonna go there and help those innocent people out now. Matter of fact, when we jump into the next section, it's really more of getting confirmation that it is going to be a trap, because you have White Wolf get word that apparently his bombing strike, it worked. He got word that Sam, Ian, and the members of the Resistance are on their way right now over to where the bombing took place. And once they do get there, his trap is gonna go off. But he does tell his men, listen, I want you to bring me Sam Wilson alive. But if you cannot do that, go ahead and bring me a dead body as well. But either way, today, a Captain America is going to die. And so you have Sam and Ian arrive at the hospital. Now, when they do arrive, it's Sam and Ian right now trying to help out the innocent people that were affected by the bombing. Now, with that being said, Ian realized that this was going to be a trap. Sam knows it is going to be a trap. We got confirmation that it was going to be a trap. And so this is where you have the White Wolf say, okay, here comes my trap. Go ahead and open up the portals. And that is when you have portals open up left and right. And you have random creatures appear out of nowhere and begin the process of attacking Sam Wilson, Ian Rogers, and also the hospital as well that's holding on to innocent people who are trapped inside. And so you're wondering, where in the world did these creatures come from? Who are these creatures? And we kind of find out the Ferox are the name of these creatures. As a matter of fact, they also come from Dimension Z. And Nomad, aka Ian Rogers, he remembers these creatures because when him and Steve were trapped in Dimension Z, these creatures actually helped raise him into the young man he is today. And so he is very confused on why in the world they're here right now, but on top of that, why in the world they're helping the White Wolf. And they kind of find out he has some kind of transmitter that was able to open up a portal to Dimension Z, but on top of that is controlling the monsters as well. And so you have Sam and both Ian say, we have to help out the innocent people, but we have to get rid of the transmitter as well. And hopefully when we do destroy the transmitter, they'll just go back home and the portals will close as well. And so you do have our heroes once again work together to actually do that. Now Sam is able to get rid of the transmitter, but the problem is though, the portals did close, but the creatures are not going away. And so unfortunately, when it comes to our heroes, they still have to deal with a huge amount of creatures who are still wanting to attack them. And that right there causes a whole lot more problems. But then somebody else appears to make things even worse for Sam Wilson and Ian Rogers. And that would be Falcon. He arrived at the scene. And when he does arrive at the scene, he's still in that animal state of mind, where right now he's acting all crazy and everything, but he wants to kill off Sam Wilson. And the reason why, because Falcon believes right now that Sam Wilson left him behind and did not try to stay behind to make sure that his partner was okay. Instead, it seemed like the Falcon that Sam just left and did not even care at all. And so this is Falcon right now saying, I came all the way here to get revenge against you. How dare you leave me behind and act like you don't care for me at all? But on top of that, we're left to wonder, what did Falcon do to his family? Because the last time we saw him, he was with his family and they were trying their best to take care of him. And matter of fact, when it comes to the first page of the 5th chapter, we're left to believe that Homeboy did kill off his entire family, Falcon, because remember, he has an animal state mindset right now. And earlier we saw him say that he was hungry. He wanted to eat people. And so we're left to believe that Homeboy actually did eat his entire family in Arizona, which honestly is pretty dark. And so we jump over to the present day. And when we do, it's really more Falcon blaming Sam for everything went wrong in his life. Because Falcon truly believes that it's Sam's fault for being turned into a Falcon Man-like creature. Because when it comes to Falcon, he was a regular young boy. Except after he met Sam, he was grabbed by some scientists. He was turned into a Falcon Man-like creature. And then, thanks to Sam, Sam has the ability to connect minds with birds across the world. And so of course when he came to Falcon, he was no longer a regular young boy. He was now a Falcon, a bird-like dude. And so of course when it comes to Sam, he has a connection with Falcon as well. Either way, it's him saying, thanks to you, my entire life fell apart after I met you. And that is a problem right there. But then you have Falcon say, on top of that, you left me behind on the steps of the United Nations. Now we know that is not true. That when it comes to Sam Wilson, he did not leave Falcon on the steps of the United Nations. But it is the chemicals right now playing mind games with Falcon's mind. And so even though we know it is not true, unfortunately for Falcon, he believes that Sam left him behind on the steps of the United Nations. And so you have Sam tell Ian, we have to work together to free Falcon from the control of the chemicals, because sooner or later he may end up hurting you, me, and innocent people in this area. So the rest of the chapter is really more of Sam Wilson and also Ian Rogers fighting against Falcon. But while our two heroes are fighting against Falcon, it's really more Sam expressing how angry he is at the White Wolf. Because this entire series, the White Wolf has been the main bad guy. And the White Wolf has done so much to Sam, to Wakanda, to America, to Falcon, and now Ian, that Sam is getting so ticked off that he has reached a point where he's thinking about actually killing off the White Wolf. On top of that, you have a bunch of innocent people dying in this country because of the White Wolf civil war, because he wants to be in charge of this country. And so it's Sam saying, once I am able to calm down Falcon, if I do find the White Wolf, he is going to die today. And so you do have our heroes continue to fight against Falcon. Now, while our heroes are doing that, you have the rest of the resistance move on. They go deeper into the area to finally stop the White Wolf once and for all. And so unfortunately, they cannot wait for Sam and Ian to back them up. But once you have our heroes being able to defeat Falcon, you have Sam say, okay, I had enough. I had enough. Because right now, the resistance needs our help to finally free this country. But like I said earlier, if I find the White Wolf, he is going to die today. No, he is not gonna go back to America and go to jail. No, my hands are going to kill off the White Wolf. So when it comes to the final chapter of this storyline, it's the White Wolf fighting against Sam Wilson. And when it comes to their battle, they're expressing their different viewpoints. And really, I want to focus on the White Wolf first. And the reason why, because he's doing all of this because of how Wakanda treated him in the past. Because remember, the White Wolf is the adoptive brother to the Black Panther. He was found by T'Challa's father, but even though he came from the outside of Wakanda, T'Challa's father still raised Hunter, the White Wolf, like he is his own son. And matter of fact, because the White Wolf is older than T'Challa, technically the White Wolf was supposed to be the next person in line to become the Black Panther, but he wasn't, because T'Challa's father realized the people of Wakanda would not accept the White Wolf, Hunter, as their next Black Panther because of two reasons. One, he is not from Wakanda, and two, his skin color. Well, that is what the White Wolf is saying. Either way though, when it comes to the White Wolf, he was not chosen to become the next Black Panther. T'Challa was, and Hunter let that go. But instead, you had Hunter begin to work for Wakanda in many different ways to prove that he wants to help out Wakanda. But over and over again, the people of Wakanda never truly accepted Hunter because he came from the outside world, outside of Wakanda. And so when Wakanda announced that they're going to allow a bunch of black people to leave America and come over to Wakanda, he's kind of like, what are y'all doing? For years, you would never accept me, but now you are going to accept a bunch of people from a country that has caused other countries so many problems over the years. What is wrong with you? And so that is why he's doing all of this to build a better Wakanda where everybody is able to come together as one. And matter of fact, he tells Sam why he hates Sam so much. And it's not because Sam is some superhero, it's more because Sam is Captain America and he represents America. And in America, you have all these different kinds of races and religion, people being able to bond with other people no matter what their race is, sex is, or religion is. But you have Sam say, so you believe that America is perfect. You believe that in America right now, we have all these different kind of races and we have no problem at all. We have all the blacks, Hispanics, the Asians, the Africans, Europeans. Because we have so many different races in our country, you believe we live in utopia. But in reality, our country has their own problems as well. And you have folks trying to leave because in our home country, black folks or other minorities are not being treated correctly. Why do you think all those black folks wanted to leave America and go over to Wakanda for? Because they'll have a better opportunity to feel appreciated, to feel loved, to feel wanted. In America, they don't have that. And so what you believe America is incorrect. And what I'm trying to represent is that we need to stay in America to change America, to make America better. That is what I am trying to do here. Either way, you have the two heroes fight against each other, and you have Sam being able to defeat the White Wolf. Now, Sam wants to kill off the White Wolf, but you have Ian say no, because you are Captain America. You represent a lot when you're carrying that shield in those colors. And so that means if you kill, you're no longer the hero that you're trying to be. And so you have Sam stop beating down the White Wolf, and the day is saved. We do get a page where we come to find out that Falcon is going to be okay. Matter of fact, the chemical is already coming out of his body, and sooner or later, he should be back to normal once again. And so really, the book ends on one heck of a note, because you do have Sam go meet up with Misty Knight. And when he does, he tells her everything that she had missed in this storyline. But on top of that though, we do get reminded that these two characters are dating one another. But at the same time, it's Misty Knight saying, hey, you went through a lot, but don't worry, I will always be there for you. Now after that, you also have Sam meet up with Ian Rogers to show us that these two characters are now on good terms with each other, which honestly is a great thing. But then you have Ian say goodbye to Sam, and he says, it's about time for my dad to know I'm still alive. Because remember, Sam had no idea that Ian was still alive. And matter of fact, it's the same thing for Steve Rogers as well. He had no idea his son Ian was alive either. And so it's Ian saying, and so with us diving into this book, we pick up with Bucky Barnes getting ready to break out the White Wolf. Now, when it comes to Bucky Barnes, we have to remember that he joined a group known as the Outer Circle. And the Outer Circle was this hidden group behind the scenes that was apparently controlling the entire world, which means that different events the world had gone through was because of them. The prime example, World War II. Now on top of that, Bucky also learned his entire life was a lie. That basically the Outer Circle also controlled him, and he was one of the 5 assassins that worked for the Outer Circle. And so every single time he killed someone and thinking that he was doing the right thing, in reality, he most likely wasn't. Either way, he had officially replaced one of the members of the Outer Circle and becoming the new character known as the Revolution. Now, right now, we're seeing him breaking out the White Wolf. Now, the White Wolf was captured at the end of Sam Wilson's book, and the White Wolf was just trying to take over a country. But of course, he had failed and he was locked up for it. And so this is Bucky saying, no, I need your help to win the game against the other members of the Outer Circle. And what he means by that is, when it comes to the Outer Circle, you have different members, and each member represents something different in the world. So like power, revolution, money, love, and the list goes on and on and on. I think there's only 6 people. Either way, when it comes to the Outer Circle, they're playing a game. And so right now, their goal is to win the game, but at the same time, make sure they are leading the human race in a better direction. And so when it comes to Bucky, his main goal right now is to bring down the entire organization from the inside out. And so he joined as the new Revolution. Either way, he's trying to use the White Wolf to actually accomplish his goal. But at the same time, he has to make a deal with the White Wolf. And so they do make a deal, which is right now, Bucky says, I need your tech and you need my tech as well. Because right then and there, we both be able to get what we want. And we're left to wonder, what do each character actually want? Now, when it comes to the White Wolf, he says, listen, once I give you my tech, the only thing I want is the throne. And we're left to wonder, what does he mean by that? Does he want his home country again or somewhere else? And so we pick up with Steve Rogers, who's hanging out with his son, Ian Rogers. Now, when it comes to Ian Rogers, Ian is not the biological son of Steve. He was adopted by Steve because Ian comes from Dimension Z. Dimension Z is another dimension that was created by Armin Zola, one of the many bad guys of Steve Rogers. Now, in that dimension, Armin Zola did create a whole lot of different kinds of creatures, including Ian, except Ian was adopted by Steve, except time moves differently in that dimension. And so Ian was able to grow up very fast. With that being said, even though Ian is a young man, he still looks at Steve as his father and always tries to have some father and son bonding moment. Now, while you have the two characters hanging out and catching up, well, out of nowhere, they're attacked by Peggy Carter. Now, Peggy is a very interesting character because she was the first love interest for Steve Rogers. Now, over the years, they did a lot of change to the character because at first she was kind of old, then she died, and then she was brought back to life. But recently we found out that she was also one of the 5 assassins that had worked for the Outer Circle. with that being said, that means her entire life was also a lie as well. Either way, she still works for Bucky Barnes, who is the new Revolution of the Outer Circle. And so when she does appear, she does attack Steve and Ian. Now her goal is not to kill Steve nor Ian, is to grab Ian, because Ian is going to be very important for Bucky Barnes' big plan. So after that, you have Steve Rogers call up Sam Wilson, the other Captain America, because right now he needs help dealing with the idea that Peggy had kidnapped his son Ian. Now with that being said though, when you have the two heroes meet up, well, this turns into I call a double date, because the two other heroes that are going to help out Sam and Steve is Sharon Carter and Misty Knight, the girlfriends to these two characters. That's why I say it's going to be a double date mission. Either way right now, you have Steve and basically Sam catching everybody up saying, hey, this is what's going down. Now, this is the moment where we find out what Bucky wanted from the White Wolf, which is technology that opens up portals to Dimension Z. Now, that right there is all we know. We still have no idea why he wants to go into Dimension Z. But at the same time, this does kind of tell us maybe what the White Wolf wants. He wants to rule Dimension Z, have his own kingdom. Because remember, in earlier videos we did, that's all he wanted to do, is to build a better Wakanda, to prove Wakanda was wrong on how they had treated him over the years, because he was technically not from Wakanda. Either way, you have Steve, Sam, Misty, and also Sharon say, okay, we have to go over to Alaska, because right now it seems there is something big going on over there. If we go over there, maybe, just maybe, we can find both Bucky and also the White Wolf, and also save your son as well, and shut everything down before things get out of hand. And so our heroes leave to go over to Alaska. But when we check in with Ian, Ian's being tortured. He's being tortured a lot, except this is also the moment where we get confirmation that right now Bucky is trying to give the White Wolf his own kingdom, which is going to be Dimension Z. Except the thing is, for him to be able to take over Dimension Z, he has to have the blood of Armin Zola. Except you have Bucky here saying that is not going to be a problem at all, because he is able to give the White Wolf a blood sample, really a medicine or some kind of drink that contains the blood of Armin Zola in a new kind of way, where it is able to change his genetics to Armin Zola, so that now the blood of Armin Zola flows through the body of the White Wolf. And so because of that, now all the creatures in Dimension Z, they're going to listen to the White Wolf, because he now contains the blood of Armin Zola. He now has his own kingdom. But we see our heroes go over to Alaska. Now, when they do arrive in Alaska, their main goal is to get to the Outer Circle base, because right now they believe that Ian's being held inside there. Except when they do arrive at the Outer Circle area in Alaska, well, they're seeing a private war. There are two different armies that are being controlled by the Outer Circle. And right now you have both sides fighting against one another as a way to kind of bring the numbers down for the military for the Outer Circle. But Steve Rogers does not care, because his main goal is to save his son's life. And so you have Sam, Steve, Sharon, and also Misty work together to fight against the army of people who work for the Outer Circle to hopefully save Ian's life. The problem is though, as soon as they get there and being able to fight through armies and armies of people, well, they're confronted by two beings that came from Dimension Z. But on top of that, these two creatures are wearing the symbols of the White Wolf and Bucky Barnes. And that shows both Steve and Sam, their two bad guys, are now working together. And that could be a huge problem for our heroes. But it also seems like right now Bucky is trying to bring an army of creatures from Dimension Z out into the real world. But to close on the first chapter, we jump back over to Bucky and the White Wolf, where you have the White Wolf trying to tell Bucky that he should be happy with what he has done. Look at what you have accomplished. You have technically started a war that could change everything. And you have Bucky say, no, I cannot be happy at all, because the game we're changing right now is going to be crazy. We are really flipping the table when it comes to this game. But at the same time, once I am able to win this actual war, unfortunately, everybody I care for is going to die. And so we're left to believe that at the end of the storyline, Sam, Steve, Sharon, Peggy, and also Misty could all die just so Bucky is able to bring down the outer circle once and for all. And so as we jump into the second chapter of the Cold War, well, we pick out our heroes right now discussing the idea of what to do with Bucky. Because with Bucky technically going evil, joining the outer circle, but at the same time, he also broke out a war criminal. The White Wolf is a war criminal. But breaking him out is Sam saying he has gone too far, meaning that once we are able to shut down the outer circle, Bucky Barnes, the White Wolf, Dimension Z, Bucky has to be locked up for the crimes that he has committed. Now, here's the thing. Steve says, yes, I agree that Bucky has gone off the rails. But at the same time, is Steve not agreeing that they should take down Bucky and lock him up? It's really more Steve saying, if we get to that point, I'll try my best to convince Bucky that what he did is wrong. But after that, maybe we can work through things so that he does not have to go to jail. But for Sam is all like, dude, no, he has to go to jail for what he did. Now, while you have the guys just talking, the ladies say, hey, we have an army of monsters right now coming from Dimension Z, popping out left and right, trying to kill us. And you two want to sit here and have this conversation now? No. Get in the battle and help us take care of these creatures. And so it does lead into another battle. Now, while our heroes are fighting against these creatures, well, out of nowhere, Sharon Carter falls through something, some kind of hole, and you have Misty Knight follow her. Then the guys also follow them. And so now we're going to find out there is some underground tunnels underneath this battlefield that they were battling at. And what Sharon Carter had found is an old mining tunnels. Now, when our heroes reach the bottom, well, they find a group of people. And these group of people actually belong to a nearby city, except they lost their town thanks to the outer circle and their private military. They were kicked out of their town and they had to hide in the mining tunnels. And they're just waiting for the right time to move, then go outside the mining tunnels and find somewhere new to hide at for the time being. Now, with that being said, you then have our heroes continue to discuss the idea of what to do when it comes to Bucky Barnes. Because again, Sam says Bucky gotta go to jail, but for Steve is more of let me try to talk to Bucky and work things out. Now, while you have the two guys actually argue, you did have our heroes realize that if we have one portal here right now that is opening up to Dimension Z, that means our two main bad guys could open up more portals across the world and bring more monsters into the earth from Dimension Z. And so we have to go inside Dimension Z to shut everything down. Now, here's the thing. Sam agrees with Steve, but at the same time, it's still Steve saying, my main goal is to save my son and then help Bucky through his problems, and then hopefully we can all just talk things out. But again, for Sam, it's more of no. We'll save Ian, but Ian is not our main goal. Our main goal right now is to save the entire world. Speaking of Dimension Z, we jump over to Ian, who's locked up in a cell in Dimension Z, where he's confronted by Bucky. And when you have Bucky walk up, this leads into a conversation between the two characters, where you have Bucky wonder, why does Ian hate this place so much? Because this is technically his home. But for Ian, this is a hellscape, because he has gone through so much when he was here along with Steve Rogers. And so he never wanted to come back here at all because of what he had went through. Now for Bucky, it's more of, but this is your home. Why not try to fix your home? But for Ian, he said, no, home is not where you came from. Home is where you go to, where you feel love, where you feel like you belong in that area. That is where home is. That is why I called myself Nomad, because when it came to Dimension Z, it was the only place I knew as home. But of course, I hated this place so much. And so when I left here, the question was, where do I go next? I could go to America or any other country across the board. But the thing is, I myself had to figure out where I belong, where I feel loved. And so that is why I took the name Nomad. But at the same time, for me to find a new home, I can call it home. And so for Bucky, it's more of, okay, here's the thing. Why not try to come back to your original home and try to fix it and save it? If you realize that your old home is not working out right now, it's falling apart, why not come back and try to make it better? Now, the conversation does end on that note right there, but you have Bucky walk away to leave us wondering, will Ian at the end of the story actually stay here in Dimension Z and try to make it better? Now, while you have Bucky leaving the actual prison cell of Ian, well, then out of nowhere, he is grabbed from behind by somebody else. And we kind of find out that he was grabbed by the Black Widow. And so as we jump into the third chapter of the story, it's really more of our heroes getting ready to jump into Dimension Z, except you have Sam question Steve one more time, except on a different topic. Because now is Sam saying, Steve, are you truly ready to go back into Dimension Z? And the reason why you have Sam asking Steve that question is because Steve and Ian were trapped in Dimension Z for a very long time. They've gone through a lot while being inside Dimension Z. And so is Sam making sure that Steve is ready mentally, but at the same time is also saying, hey, your son is trapped where you guys had to fight for your lives for so many years. But on top of that though, your best friend's the one who had captured your friend. Are you mentally ready to go into Dimension Z? And you have Steve try to be confident with his answers, saying, yeah, he is ready. But you can tell this is a guy who is not mentally ready at all. But either way, they have no choice. They have to go inside Dimension Z. But getting back over to the Outer Circle, the other members of the Outer Circle, we kind of find out that they are very upset with the Revolution, Bucky Barnes, because now their game is technically in his hands. They have no control over their own game, because when it came to the Outer Circle, their whole idea was to control the world through a game they play by making different kind of moves with love, money, power, evolution, all those different kinds of things. But when it comes to Bucky, all the different moves that he had made, he shut out the other members of the Outer Circle. And so really right now, it is Bucky winning the war against the Outer Circle. But now you have the other members saying, let's come together, let's send a force to go after the Revolution, kill him off, and we'll just bring someone else in to replace him. But right now, this man has to be stopped before he ruins the entire game that we have built to lead the human race in a better direction. But getting back over to the Revolution, Bucky Barnes, let's not forget, at the end of the last chapter, the Black Widow appeared. And this made a whole lot of sense in some areas, because when it comes to the Black Widow, her and Bucky, they go way back. They are very close in so many different kinds of ways. But the problem is, how in the world did Homegirl get here? Either way, you have Black Widow coming here to stop Bucky because she got word in what he had become. And so of course she's worried for the man that she cares so much for. But you have Bucky tell her, please stop. Like, please just stop. What I want you to do instead is watch me. Not right now, but watch the moves I make here in Dimension Z and see what I'm trying to do. Because once you're able to watch what I'm trying to do, you will have a better idea what my end goal is. But the thing is, if I go too far, then you have the right to actually end me. Now, You have Black Widow agree with those terms, except she says, I do not like the man that you are becoming. I better see the original Bucky come back very soon, or I'll kill you myself. We then get this section that jumps between the present and the past. And the reason why, because in the present day, you have our heroes fighting their way over to the portal that would lead them over into Dimension Z. But while they're doing that, we're getting these flashbacks of to the time where Steve and Ian were trapped inside Dimension Z. And this is what's really fueling Steve Rogers with anger right now. Because right now, he is remembering what happened to him and his son when they were trapped in Dimension Z. What his son had to go through while being trapped in Dimension Z. And so it's just him saying, I feel very bad about the idea of my son going back somewhere where technically it is his hellscape. Now for Sam Wilson, he realized that Steve is just a one-man army technically with that mindset on, because he's just going through hitting folks left and right, but Sam can tell the moves that Steve is making, they're not actual smart moves. They're just brutal attacks to go ahead and get through guys to hopefully get to Dimension Z to get to Ian Rogers. And so you have Sam try his best one last time to reason with Steve. But unfortunately, Steve is not listening. Now, when our heroes arrive into Dimension Z, well, they realize that this dimension has fell apart. Not literally, but more of a way of it's more savage, because when it comes to Dimension Z, one day on Earth is a whole century here. And so they have been gone for a very long time. Armin Zola has not been here in a very long time. And so this dimension has turned into a savage dimension. And so they're very worried about the idea of Ian being here. But on top of that, the creatures here, how are they going to act? And how are they going to stop Bucky and the White Wolf? Now, with our heroes arriving, well, the White Wolf can tell they are there, because with them sitting on the throne, he is able to sense every single thing that's going on in Dimension Z. And so he tells Bucky they are here, but Bucky tells him leave them alone, because technically right now they're in a whole new kind of Dimension Z. There is no way they will be able to actually reach this point, except for the White Wolf. He's kind of like, yeah, you see, I don't believe that. I want to make sure there is no way for them to get over here. And so we see him set off some kind of bomb near our heroes to hopefully blow them up. And so as we dive into the 4th chapter of the book, it's really more of a Captain America versus Captain America chapter. And the reason why I'm saying that, because you have Steve get back up after the whole bomb incident and leave the entire team behind. Sam, Sharon, Misty, goodbye, because Steve says, I have to get my boy back. I have to save my son. But at the same time, I have to stop Bucky and help him realize that what he is doing is actually wrong. Now, you have Sam get up, and Sam is ticked off. Sam is ticked off, y'all, because Sam is saying, how dare you leave us behind? We are a team. We just went through a whole bomb situation, a trap situation, and here you are leaving us behind to basically get your son behind. Homie, your girlfriend or wife, whatever she is to you, is technically injured. The mother, the adoptive mother to your child, is injured, and here you are just walking away because you feel like your son is so important that it'll be okay to leave your team behind. Newsflash, Misty and Sharon are injured. Now, they're not seriously injured to the point where it's like, oh my God, they're bleeding out and dying, but they're injured. And so it's Sam saying, what is wrong with you? But for Steve, it's more of, what's wrong with you? Because you don't understand what it's like to be a father, because you'll do anything to protect your child, do anything to protect your family. Now, what Steve is saying is true, but at the same time, he's still in the wrong. Because if you're saying that, what about Sharon Carter? Because she is the mother or the adoptive mother to your child. But at the same time, you have Sam saying, you don't understand. Because I lost my family. I would do anything to get my family back, but unfortunately, I cannot do that, Steve. But it's also Sam saying, you are wearing the Captain America suit. It means a lot, meaning that it represents a lot. And so when you wear that suit, you have to realize what you're doing is right and what you're doing is wrong, because what that symbol stands for. And right now, you are literally not giving a good example at all because you're upset about the idea of your son being kidnapped. I told you the main goal is to bring down the White Wolf, to bring down Bucky, and then we can save your son. Because if we don't stop them, then what's the point then? Because then they might come back after Bucky down the road. And so it leads into an actual battle. But at first, it is Steve beating down on Sam, but then it's Sam beating down on Steve. Like, yo, Sam said, you are gonna learn today what I'm telling you, boy. Because Sam is just whooping Steve butt left and right, to the point where after he just knocks out Steve, Sam walks away. Except when he does walk away, he does regroup with the other members of the team. But when we jump over to the White Wolf and also Bucky, the Black Widow, and also Ian is now out of his cage. And this is more the White Wolf saying, I want you to watch. I want you to watch where both of your Captain Americas die, because one of them is your father, but the other one is your partner. And right now, they're both about to be killed off in my new dimension that I control. Now, once again, you have Bucky say, do you trust me? And you have Ian look at Bucky like, what do you mean? And you also have the Black Widow say, what do you mean? But again, you have Bucky say, do you trust me? And so when we jump back over to our heroes, they are surrounded by more creatures of Dimension Z, except now they're without Steve. And so it's up to Sam to protect both Misty and also Sharon. Now Sharon, she's injured, and so it may seem like she may be unable to battle. Now Misty Knight can help out, but at the same time, they're still outnumbered here. And so we're left to believe that Sam, Misty, and also Sharon are about to die here in Dimension Z. And so as we jump into the 5th chapter, you did have the White Wolf very excited about the idea that he might win this war against both Captain Americas. Now, you have Bucky chime in and say, actually, you're wrong, because right now the forces you have sent to go after Sam Wilson is not enough. You need to make sure that you send everything if you think you're going to win against Sam Wilson. Now, when it comes to Steve Rogers, you have Bucky say, oh, by the way, Steve is not dead. I know he's not dead, because when it comes to Steve, he does not give up when it comes to a mission. And Bucky is correct, because Steve is not dead. As a matter of fact, you have Steve get right back up. But when Steve gets back up, he realized that, yeah, Sam is correct. That yes, even though his family is in danger, he is still Captain America. He represents a lot more than he remembers at the moment. And so he realized what he has to do. And right now, he has to bring down Bucky, but also bring down the White Wolf. And so once he's able to get back up and avoid an avalanche, he is able to regroup with the rest of the heroes. And you have Sam and Steve apologize to one another. But once they do that, bam, it's time to go. We have to finally end this war here and now. But getting back over to Bucky and the White Wolf, you have the White Wolf wonder, why in the world is Bucky talking so highly about Steve Rogers, but at the same time being on the White Wolf side? And you have Bucky say one simple line, because I know if I play the game his way, there's no way I'll win. And so I have to play a different way to actually win the game. And so that kind of ticks off the White Wolf a little bit. But at the same time, it's the White Wolf realizing that Bucky is saying Steve Rogers is unstoppable. But the problem with Steve Rogers is he doesn't accomplish everything he should accomplish. And so that is why Bucky is now playing dirty. But after that, you didn't have Bucky call up the outer circle. Now, when he does that, it leads into a conversation about something very important. and that would be Nega Knights. See, Nega Knight is a very powerful resource that comes from Dimension Z. And here's the thing, the other members of the Outer Circle, they want their hands on that actual resource. Unfortunately, right now, Bucky and the White Wolf, they own Dimension Z. And so unfortunately, the other members of the Outer Circle cannot get their hands on it. They're trying to make a deal with Bucky, but unfortunately, this is Bucky right now playing the game, trying to bring down the Outer Circle to win the game. And he says, no deal. Now, right after that, you didn't have Power say, you are making a very huge mistake, because right now you are relying on your assassins, your star points, but at the same time, you are making the same mistakes the last revolution did, which is going up against Captain America. And I wonder which of your friends is going to be the one to put a bullet in your head. Now, after that, you have Black Widow and Peggy have a conversation of their own. And when it comes to their conversation, it's really more of Peggy telling Black Widow she hates herself. And the reason why she does, because she realized that all the work she did going around the world, taking out different targets, where she believed that she was doing good things to help out America or other people around the world, in reality, she was working for the Outer Circle. They made her their personal assassin, one of their 5 personal assassins. And so she hates that so much. And so because of that, she's kind of like, I hate myself, and I'm trying to do the right thing by helping Bucky bring down the Outer Circle, but to also bring down the White Wolf. But the problem is, you have Black say, no, Black Widow. She says, no, you are still a bad person because you did one horrible thing, and that is you kidnapped Steve Rogers' son. So even though you're trying to do all the good in the world, you still did one bad thing. Kidnapping the son of Steve Rogers. You're now fighting against the man who you used to love a long time ago. And to wind down on the 5th chapter of the story, you have the White Wolf realize that everything he has sent towards Sam Wilson, Steve Rogers, of course Sharon and Misty Knight, it's not working. They're able to go ahead and defeat every single thing he sends their way. And so with that, he's saying, we need to do more. We need to bring down both Sam and Steve Rogers. Now, when we jump over to the White Wolf at the end of the 5th chapter, we kind of find out that with the blood of the DNA of Armin Zola, it began to change the White Wolf. And right now, he is literally turning into a white wolf. And so as we get into the final chapter of this crazy story, you have the Black Widow talking to Ian Rogers to try to convince him it's time for him to step up. It's time for him to change everything that's going on right now in this entire storyline. And with this chapter, it's going to explain everything we saw when it came to all the different books that led into this one right here. But what she's telling Ian right now is he has to take over this dimension, because right now in the real world, the White Wolf has released every single kind of creature across the actual planet. And so it's a full-on invasion right now. And if they want to save the Earth, Ian has to take over the position the White Wolf has, the King of Dimension Z. And so when you have Bucky go over to the White Wolf, this is Bucky saying this was not part of our plan. There was nothing in our plan when I said you were going to invade the Earth. But this is the White Wolf saying, I don't trust you anymore, Bucky, because I know that you are trying to use me for some unknown reason. And until I know what that unknown reason is, I cannot trust you. And so I'm going to do what I want to do. And right now, what I want to do is to basically invade the Earth with my new forces. So unfortunately, go away and watch me work and take over both Dimension Z and also Earth. And this ties back into what the White Wolf truly wants, because he's trying to prove to Wakanda that he is a great king, because he was supposed to be the king of Wakanda after T'Challa's father died. But of course, Wakanda chose T'Challa. Either way, it's him saying, I can prove to Wakanda I'm a great leader by having both Earth but also Dimension Z as well. And this leads us into a full-on battle section, because when our heroes do arrive at the base of the White Wolf and Bucky, it's time to take everybody down. And so that leads into our heroes fighting against the bad guys. You got Steve fighting against the White Wolf. You got Sam fighting against Bucky. They have switched their enemies. At the same time, they also switched girlfriends for the time being, because Sharon Carter is with Sam, while you have Misty with Steve. Either way, our heroes are fighting against the bad guys. Now, there is something else I do want to mention. When it comes to Sharon Carter, she does get a new code name, and that new code name is going to be the Destroyer. And the reason why, because in the last volume for Steve Rogers' book, Captain America, the Sentinel of Liberty, well, there was a Destroyer, but he was killed off by power of the Outer Circle. Either way, after being killed off, of course, there's no longer a Destroyer in Marvel Comics, and so she felt like it should be her code name now to honor her friend that had died, and so she becomes the new Destroyer. Either way, you do have our heroes go ahead and defeat all the bad guys, but this leads into the big moment of the book. Why did Bucky do all of this for? All of this mayhem, and this brings back everything we saw in both books all together as one. And so you have Ian Rogers step out. Now, when Ian Rogers step out, is Steve kind of like, yay, my son is good, he's alive, okay, let's go home. But you have Ian say, no, father, because I realized what Bucky was trying to do, what Bucky was trying to accomplish. Now, here is, man, sorry y'all, it's crazy. Here is Bucky's master plan. It takes everything we saw in both books and bring them all together for this one particular moment. Because you have Bucky say, Steve, think about it. Think about every single thing that happened to you, but also Sam, and try to think what I am trying to accomplish. And you have Steve say, oh my God, I understand. Because what he realized that when it came to the Outer Circle, when they first revealed the Outer Circle to Steve Rogers and Bucky, they realized that there was a hidden group behind the scenes that was controlling the human race to try to lead the human race in a better direction, quotation marks. Either way, when it comes to Bucky, he also realized that the Outer Circle was responsible for his entire life going crazy. And so he wanted to bring down the Outer Circle. Now he was given the ability to join the Outer Circle, but once he had joined, he realized that he could not just attack the Outer Circle so easily. He had to play their game. And so, of course, when it comes to the Outer Circle, they play a game against each other as a way to save the human race. Either way, when Bucky realized what every single member wanted, he knew what moves he had to do, because he realized every single member of the Outer Circle wanted one particular resource, the Neganite. And the Neganite is a very powerful resource that only comes from Dimension Z. The thing is, the Outer Circle did not really have a way to get into Dimension Z, but one person did, and that was the White Wolf. That is why he made a deal with the White Wolf, so that he would get access to Dimension Z, and then make more moves to make sure there is no way that the Outer Circle could get their hands on the Neganite. Now, here's the thing. To make sure they could not do that, he had to bring Ian Rogers, because he wanted Ian Rogers to take over Dimension Z, but to also make sure that with him in charge, there is no way that any bad guy could come here and take the resource back over to Earth to do more evil things. And so that is Bucky's master plan. But the thing is, he knew he could not tell Steve at all, because when it comes to Steve would say no and try to find a different route. But Bucky realized there is no different route. This was the best route to accomplish this goal. And so technically, even though Bucky did not completely defeat the Outer Circle, he was able to hurt them for the time being, to kind of push them back a tad bit. And so this is a well done job. So after all of that, you then have Bucky ask Steve one last favor. And the reason why, because Bucky says, the last part of my plan is to bring down the Outer Circle. but using the forces of Dimension Z to use them as an army to fight against the army of the Outer Circle. But the thing is, I need to ask one more favor. See, my army needs a captain. Steve, can you stay here and help me and Ian fight against the Outer Circle? And you have Steve say yes. As a matter of fact, so does Sharon Carter. It gives them the ability to at least spend time with their son, but to also get rid of the Outer Circle. And so the way the story ends, you're left to believe that Sam Wilson will now be the Captain America for Earth, while you have Steve being the Captain America for Dimension Z. And that is where we end today's comic book video. So please leave me a like down below and subscribe. But guys, I'll see y'all next time. Later.